Hi, welcome to the 1 Liter Podcast. You will watch us drinking 1 liters of beer whilst talking about shies. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to the 1 Liter.
Prost. Welcome back, everyone. We've got another guest here today. First time on is Anthony.
Thank you for having me. First
welcome.
podcast ever, I should say, too.
First, okay.
Yeah.
You've ever been on?
Ever.
Are you nervous at all?
A little bit.
You should be.
A
People
little
get
bit.
nervous. I don't understand.
It's more, I'm conscious about what might come out of my mouth. Because, yeah. Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
Who
But
knows
yeah,
where it's
we'll
going.
see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
I love it.
We've got the first story lined up, though. So your workplace.
Oh, straight into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
founder has recently died, which I didn't hear about, but Joel, you saw it on TV. So we want some more deets.
So where did you see it? I'm just out of curiosity before I start.
I think this is super serendipitous because I never watch the news because it's always something negative. I think I was at work and I actually was like, one day just went YouTube and typed in Sydney news or something like that. Just randomly. This is maybe like 2 or 3 weeks or a month ago. And then I saw that story and I was like, oh, fuck. Was he delirious? Did he just walk off? Did he what happened? Was he drunk? But yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so just for context, I work for a company called the Fast 800, which in a roundabout way, we were talking about this before, Phil got me this job. We can sort of, but we can loop back to that. But the Fast 800 is a company that has a weight loss program designed by doctors and health professionals for people that need to lose weight to improve their health. So if you think of something like type 2 diabetes, for example, our program is perfect for them because it can mean that they don't necessarily have to go on medication. They can treat that and reverse that through proper eating, exercise, all that sort of stuff.
So it's like a very much an organic approach.
Yeah, so think Mediterranean style eating because that's the most science-based.
Lot of
lot of protein. So if you think about protein, it's going to satiate you. It's good for your muscles. But then you've got intermittent fasting built into that, caloric restriction, which is really the key about getting into a deficit so you can lose weight quickly, but healthily. And then you add exercise and mindfulness and things that you call adherence protocols to help you sort of go through a 12-week program and then beyond, because we want people to stick to it. Long story short, one of the founders was Michael Mosley, who is the gentleman that you sort of came across in your Googling.
Mid-60s, right?
Yeah, I think he was 67, which is really young, and particularly for a healthy sort of gentleman like he was, and a doctor, no less. You know, he had that medical experience, so he knows how to look after himself and has certainly built a long career and legacy in looking at different science and using his own body in a lot of cases to sort of see what happens when you do certain things.
Were you on a good first name basis with this gentleman? Like, did you see him quite often?
So it's interesting for me because I've spent a significant amount of time looking at his face, but I've never actually had the opportunity to meet him. So I've been in this role for a year. And Michael, not technically my boss, so I report to the CEO. Michael was one of the founders, but very busy guy. You know, he spends a lot of time in medical journalism. He's on the BBC.
I saw that, yeah. Like I saw a lot of he was very influential.
Very extremely influential. Like it's kind of humbling. This is the first job I've ever had where I feel like I'm part of something, you know, because we're actually helping people.
That's cool.
And when I look at his legacy about how many people he's helped, you know, really changed. And we're seeing it now. Like we've got 30,000 members, 35,000 members that
Only
are
in Australia or
on this
worldwide?
program between all over the world, right? And to hear these people coming through and leaving their messages about what Michael did for them, how he changed their life, how he saved their life in so many cases, like thousands and thousands of these, you know, sort of condolences. It's quite inspiring, but also quite humbling that, you know, a guy 67 years old has achieved as much of that, as so much in his lifetime, you know, and really actually helps people. You know, I've got a philosophy for myself, which is kind of, you are what you contribute. That's what you are. And there's nothing wrong with contributing as a street sweeper or something. But to be in a position where he was a doctor, recognized the space, had type 2, was pre-diabetic himself, and looked at the science and wanted a way to...
He reversed it.
He reversed that. So obviously that's something you've got to stay on top of. But then he went on to write, you know, articles about that and share the science in a way that people could understand. That became a huge success, you know, a career on the BBC, looking at everything from sleep to smoking to, you know, this is a guy that he was looking at tapeworms, and he put tapeworms in himself.
What?
To see what would happen.
I think about tapeworms too often.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird thing mainly because it used to be a joke because I would eat so much. People would be like, oh, you got tapeworm or something. I'm like, what is tapeworm? It sounds scary as fuck. Is it legit just like a fucking big parasite that just eats the food inside your intestine?
Oh, yeah. And will live in your body. But there's also a lot of other parasites too that apparently can live in your spine.
Jesus.
Oh, no,
yeah.
not the spine.
So you can't... Yeah.
Do they eat spinal fluid and shit? Or
No, they just stay dormant in there. So obviously you don't want a parasite in your spine. That can have all sorts of, you know, your body is basically saying...
Neurotoxins and shit.
Yeah, neurotoxins, wastage that it's sort of, you know, eliminating through whatever it's eating in there. I don't know.
Trying to regulate out, yeah.
Trying to regulate out. But obviously your system, you know, presumably would know that there's a foreign body in there and is trying to
the whole time
figure out a way to get it out, but you can't because it's not like in your gut or your kidney where you've got a chance if you're healthy.
What is... And I'm asking you because I'm expecting you to know the answer. What is the best way to extract a tapeworm? Like, for some reason, I just think of it coming out of my penis hole, you know? Oh, you know?
So I would say go to a medical professional. They will probably, you know, they'll diagnose you. There's certain tests that they can do, probably a stool sample, for example, look for any evidence of a tapeworm in there. And then they'll probably send you off to a pharmacy, which will compound a specific sort of...
like a nuke, basically.
A nuke, basically, yeah. And that's probably the best way to put it, too, because I've been through a similar situation as this, in that it'll kill the tapeworm, but it'll kill all your good sort of stuff as well. So then it's about rebuilding that.
Antibiotics, man, they're the enemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, I imagine, would it break? Would it eventually dissolve within your body, or would you shit?
You shit it.
You shit it out. Yeah.
And
then you gotta damn.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had a tapeworm. I've had
ringworm.
Without getting into it, I think everyone's had a ringworm. It's the same kind of principle, right? You take the medication and you just eliminate it.
Yeah.
You know, that way. But there's other little parasites that people don't even know about. You know, and I think there's probably parasites that we aren't, you know, medical science isn't even across yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We haven't even discovered or labeled it.
We haven't even scratched the surface, you know, like if you sort of get a diagnosis of IBS or something like that, it basically means we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some ideas and stuff that you can try, but
yeah.
I've
never had IBS, but I was seeing a chick recently who she said she had a bout of it for a while, and I just asked her a bunch of questions because I had a theory in my head. I was like, I think it's probably like psychosomatic, like stress induced. Because she had taken on this new role. She's like a PA for this like Fortune 500 guy. And he's flying her to UK and New York and shit all the time. And she's just running around doing all this stuff for him. And it only started when that happened. And I was like, has your diet changed? She's like, no, I'm actually eating better now that I'm working for this guy. So I'm like, you're probably not getting enough sleep, enough H2O. Like, yeah.
Stress.
So many different things can cause it. Stress is a big one. I met someone recently. There's a lot of work and studies coming out of Monash University down in Melbourne, and they're doing some terrific work around looking at the microbiome and, you know, FODMAP style eating, which is, you know, reducing FODMAPs in your diet, which works really well for me. But one of the new things that are coming out is meditation to cure IBS, you know, and looking at brain signaling to your second brain, which is your gut, and vice versa.
Probably even more important, really.
Fucking brilliant.
And
I love that this is
Joe
all
Dispenza,
happening.
right?
Yeah.
Are you into Joe? Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, blessing of the energy centers
Yeah.
fucking changed my life when I
Joel's
was in a
jam.
dark spot for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about future guests, that might be, I might be able to point you in the right direction for people right here in Australia that are doing cutting edge work in that space.
Would you like to be present throughout that?
I'm happy to come. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not?
If
Like,
you-
I'm not I should say anything that sort of comes out of this conversation. I work with doctors a lot in my role. That's specifically my role, to educate them on gut health and how to use the Fast 800, which is the company I obviously represent, to support their patients. And the reason for that is they can then focus on medicine and what they're trained to do, and they don't have time to learn about nutrition. They certainly don't learn a lot about it in medical school, if anything. So for someone like our program to come along and me to help sort of educate them, and then in turn their patients, they can focus on the medicine. We can focus on the exercise and the nutrition and all that sort of stuff.
And that's brilliant, because it's like a meme,
Yep.
the fact that doctors have no fucking clue about diet and shit. They're just like, here's the medicine,
Yeah.
prescribe this.
I do it.
And you're like, can I change something in my lifestyle? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
We don't, doesn't compute.
Yeah.
So that's great. that
People heal themselves, and then the doctor says, "What were you doing?" And they said, "I did this, this, and this." And they're like, "Oh,
Must be a miracle."
Keep doing what you're doing, pal." It's like,
Yeah.
you're fucking useless.
I think you need both. You absolutely
Oh,
need
big time.
both,
Of course.
right? And I think most people understand that if you're overweight and not feeling well and having metabolic issues, it's sensible to eat healthy food, and most people understand what that looks like. But
There might be a deeper cause, right?
well, there's a deeper cause, but putting that together as well for a lot of people is challenging. And the same true is for doctors. They've got to be across so many different things. Your family doctor is a generalist. They've got to be across so many different sort of
Oh yeah,
issues, right?
textbooks and
To expect them
textbooks.
to be a nutritionist and an exercise physiologist and a PT on top of that, it doesn't work. They're also busy. Typically you've got about 15 minutes with the doctor.
Well, yeah, and they're running an hour behind.
They
That's
don't
how
have
busy they are.
They
It's
don't have
fucked.
time.
Yeah.
So they need that. But at the same time, we are now in a weird place with social media and armchair experts and people that sort of will
Like
talk
this
about
exact scenario.
exactly the
Yeah.
stuff that we're talking about. Oh, you just need to do this or you just need to do that. It's like, yes, maybe, but you also need that medical oversight, because you may have a thyroid issue. You may have a parasite that you're sort of dealing with.
And we 100% wouldn't be where we are without that medical advancement that we've done in terms of medicine
Yeah.
and looking at things from a physical level like that, even though they're not across the whole, what we used to call just spiritual is now sort of morphing into like, okay, well, this is actually like a real thing that we can now test in terms of what the mind's doing to the chemicals that we previously had no connection.
Yeah, and not just anecdotally, not just this works for me, it should work for you as well. Which
actually
is this,
measured studies.
actually doing studies, peer-reviewed studies with lots of different people, where you're sort of controlling the outcome, the sort of the parameters, if you will, and looking at different things. You need that. You absolutely need that.
Absolutely. And like, I mean, anyone in the spiritual side of things shouldn't try to shirk away a scientist trying to come in there and do their thing. It doesn't matter how rigorous or brutal they are. If you believe that there is obviously a metaphysical science involved with the
time.
physical science, then open up the floodgate.
Yeah, exactly.
Floodgates.
Collaborate here.
Do what you think is right for you, I think. Like whatever that might be. Like everything we're talking about now, I think sometimes what we forget is the word sensible. Right? It's because it's not a cool word. And I think what is sensible, if you're looking at improving your health because you need to lose weight, what is the sensible thing to do? Is it go and inject yourself with a GLP-1 medication? Maybe. If you're morbidly obese and you 45 BMI, you're having, you're type 2 diabetic, for example, and you need to lose a lot of weight quickly. Yeah, going on a GLP-1 medication like Ozempic, for example. would
That's
be perfect,
exactly
right?
what my question was
Yeah.
to you. What are your thoughts on that? Because
Yeah.
you're obviously going on the approach of you just need to eat properly and helping them actually establish that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy.
think
to
it's
hear, I'm
great.
happy to hear that, because there is people that, and it's very easy for people like us that have the discipline to be able to control our eating. But there is people out there where that is next to impossible, where they have physical urges that they can't control. the same as somebody being mentally ill. So I'm happy to hear that it is a thing where you think, okay, if it's necessary, yes, absolutely do that. And I've recently listened to a bunch on Ozempic specifically, and it seems like it's very much as you're taking it, it'll fix it. But as soon as you come off it, you will revert back to your old ways. So if you can help establish a proper habit during that period.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach. No, that's exactly what we do. So a key part of my partnerships now with GPs and pharmacies and stuff is when people are going on these medications is exactly explaining the messaging. And they know, everyone knows, you come off these medications unless you've adjusted your lifestyle and actually have created a new relationship with food in particular and exercise and educated yourself, you're just going to put all that weight back on, if not more. You know, we are seeing a rebound effect. So supporting it with proper nutrition while you're on that medication too. Like you want to be getting a lot of protein. You want to be getting a lot of fiber because you've actually, you know, reduced your appetite. It's actually decreasing.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because it will reduce your appetite. But if your habit was to go to KFC at lunch and get a bucket of chicken, and now you're getting, instead of a bucket of chicken, you're just getting one piece of chicken because that makes you feel full, you're still getting bullshit in terms of nutrition. Like you're still just eating a ton of vegetable oil that shit was cooked in. So
and not
changing what you eat as well as your appetite is the key, right?
Yeah, so that when you come off that medication, you've got that new relationship with food and you can eat correctly and you know how to, more importantly, do that for yourself. You know how to prepare a meal. You know what a portion of protein looks like with carbohydrates and fat in the correct sort of portioning. You know, because that's the other thing with Ozempic and these GLP-1 medications. For a lot of people, their weight loss is indiscriminate. What do I mean by that? Not just fat, muscle as well. You know, and if you're an older individual, losing muscle mass is the last thing that you want to do because it directly correlates to or cause, you know, mortality. You know, you need to maintain that muscle mass. So how do you do that? You exercise. You get a lot of protein, you know, which is anabolic in and of itself. So you've got to do these things otherwise.
So your program, what is that actually? Is that just a teaching mechanism or is there things where they can just, is it like pre-done things that people can just subscribe to or order or is it more?
So it's both. And for anyone interested, we can hook them up. But what it is there's an online assessment that you take and it looks at, you know, your, you know, age, it looks at your height, your weight to do some calculations there. It looks at if you're a type 2 diabetic, looks at a whole bunch of different things and then tailors a specific program to that individual. And that program includes the nutrition. So we don't send you meals. We want you to prepare the meals yourself so that you can actually learn how to do that, how to be comfortable in the kitchen.
Responsibilities.
Yeah. And fun fact, most families only have about 6 recipes in their repertoire, and a lot of the times they're not healthy. So giving them access to, I think we've got like 800 recipes now, and it's all, you know, developed by nutritionists and guest chefs, so it's healthy sort of stuff.
So is it made to be simple too? Sorry, what was your question?
Is this a platform or a website that you go to and it's just all this information on different topics?
Yeah, it's a membership, so it's behind a paywall, obviously, but yeah, it's online or there's an app now as well, which we launched last year.
Are there people you can reach out and speak to?
Yeah, so there's health coaches that monitor everything that's going on.
Do they come with the payment, or do you have to pay them individually after
No,
you subscribe?
it's all sort of built in. Most of the times people don't necessarily need to reach out to the health coaches because we've thought of everything. So it's all there. All you've basically got to do is input, you know, your personal statistics.
Yeah.
We can then tailor it if you're a vegetarian or you want to go really keto. We can do it that way as well.
Do you guys dabble in neuroplasticity as well?
No,
that's a big thing.
So it's part of the adherence where we do mindfulness and meditation. It's important, but really what you want is to get people eating healthy. Right. And then secondary to that, ideally, they're moving. So they're doing exercise, they're doing some kind of HIIT training or yoga, which we provide through the program. A lot of our members don't do it. A lot do, but a lot don't. But everyone is on the nutrition program because really at the end of the day, that's what's going to get you the result in terms of losing weight. It happens in the kitchen. everything else that's built in, like the mindfulness and everything that you're talking about, I agree. It's really important. It's stuff that I do in my own sort of.
Because once you get off these medications and things that you mentioned, it's
Mhm.
it's just that extra. It's an extra bit of leverage.
Yeah.
Not only are you forcing exercise and rigorous eating structures, but also like trying to change the way you think as well, right?
Mm.
So it's just like, oh God, I got to eat this meal that doesn't taste very good. It's like, no, like you're training your body to be like, this is nourishing me, It's yeah.
It's very much adherence, what you're talking about. So it's all stuff that's designed to help you stay on the program and engaged. Eating, at the most aggressive, you're talking about 800 calories a day, hence the name, the
Jeez.
Fast 800.
That's low.
But that's based on the science, actual studies that are looking at, okay, if you've got type 2 diabetes, the way to reverse that is to lose 15% of your body weight, which is fat. That's what you're trying to eliminate, specifically from your midsection. That's where the issues happen. And to do that rapidly, but still safely and being able to perform in day-to-day function, have a job, engage with your family, all the rest of it, 800 calories with a high protein is the magic number. Obviously, that's not sustainable. So anyone running that would do that for 12 weeks and then continue on with something a little less aggressive. So one of the other sort of approaches that we've got on the program. But I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, and we're all most proud of, is 90% of the people that started on the 12-week program have been with us for a year or longer at this point, because they just see the value in it and being able to continue and have it all there. All they've got to do is follow along and stick to that. And it's all sensible sort of stuff. So to loop back, Michael Mosley had the success that he did and was able to reach a lot of people in the way that he was able to because it was sensible. He wasn't saying anything fantastic. He wasn't saying anything out there. It was all sensible stuff that we're all sort of familiar with. He was just able to put it in a way that people understood. And more importantly, they were able to action, because being able to understand something is one thing, and a lot of people do get it, but being able to then take that important next step and actually do something, I think that's really important.
I feel like, that's brilliant. I feel like that word in particular is a very sobering word for Australians. Maybe not anywhere else. Maybe in the UK, be sensible. But in Australia, like that's what kids get told in primary and high school. You guys aren't being sensible, So like being older, it's like if you've just gone off the rails with your diet, and you've lapsed into having type 2 diabetes, and then someone says it's time for you to be sensible. It's like, it's a fucking wake up call. It's a slap to the face. It's like, it's a nostalgic slap to the face, right?
Yeah, and particularly for people your age and younger who, we're sort of growing
our
up.
age, right?
Well, our age, but
this
sort
guy's
of
28. What are you talking about?
but sort of that have come up in the biohacking sort of, environment on social media, where people are talking about all these little shortcuts and things that you can do to hack your way to better health. We tend to forget about the stuff that, makes the most sense.
Well, and
is sensible.
And to me, like the fact that you're going not after a social media market, it's more like, let's partner with doctors to help people that need to make this change and do it in a sensible way.
Yeah.
That's already 1,000 times better than the people that are like, oh, I've got this magic thing that you can do, but you got to pay me first.
Yeah.
And promoting that on social media.
So that's a new approach for us. So it was always intended because they were doctors that founded it. So Michael was a doctor, and then the other founders were doctors as well, and they recognized they didn't get any training, and how do we actually help people in the 15 minutes that we've got? Let's put together the Fast 800 and sort of roll it out in medical clinics and all that sort of stuff. But because of the success of Michael, on TV and, all the different media platforms, it blew up. So, the 100,000 plus people that have come through our program have come directly because of Michael's work. And it wasn't until I started a year ago now that they're like, no, we need to come back and start working with medical professionals, like doctors specifically, how can we help their patients? And more recently, pharmacists who are really sort of serving their community at a local sort of level and are trusted, and are typically, I don't know, I won't get into that, but have solutions that could be better.
Not just being like, oh, I've actually got shares in this subscription, so let's get this prescription.
Or more importantly, like, here's a shake, or here's, where's your script for a medication?
Because it's the same thing as doctors, like pharmacists. Like you go in there, you might have a cold, and they'll be like, "Oh, prescribe you antibiotics or something," and you go in there, and there's like 12 people waiting in line, and they're like, Philip Keat, do you have any allergic reactions? No, boom, okay, here you go, take it, take it twice a day with a meal. It's the same thing. Like I'm sure anyone kind of getting a proper education from your platform would be like, oh man, I can't believe I've been going to this local doctor or pharmacist for a year and they fucked me over. I don't think anyone goes into those professions with a sinister agenda. It's just you just get inundated with work. So I think if more people,
if they're just going in, I want to do medical work because it's a lot of money. Sure,
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of ego there, but I think if you strip all that shit away and you actually gave everyone an opportunity, do you want to keep practicing what you are, or do you want to help people and benefit society? I think that obviously take the other way.
Yeah,
the red pill.
You think they're all taking the Hippocratic Oath, and ideally they're getting into that because they actually want to help people. Maybe it started that way for some. I'm talking a minority. Like they don't all get it. Or at least if they do get it, they're too busy.
There's villains out there.
They just don't. Like I went to see a pharmacist recently, and before I even got halfway through my little elevator pitch, he was like, no. And I said to the guy, like, I'm not used to hearing no. Do you mind if I ask why? He goes, I don't need healthier customers. That's what he legitimately said to me.
Yeah, far out.
Right?
I don't need healthier customers.
I don't need healthier customers. I'm in the wrong place.
This is the whole big pharma battle, right? Like we don't have to get into this because this will be a 4-hour podcast. But I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
And take as long as you need to answer these.
Yeah.
My first question was, where were you when you heard the news about Mosley? Much like where were you when you heard 9/11? Like where were you? What were you doing? Did you not know until you got to work? Did you get a call or an email before you went to work?
Just to quickly go back, there's a lot of amazing people in the pharmaceutical industry. I've had the pleasure of spending time with them. I'm sure there's a lot of craziness that happens at an executive level, and keeping stakeholders happy and all that sort of stuff. But I've met some incredible people that are really genuinely driven to help people. I won't do any shout outs on this, but there's certainly people that when you're behind the scenes and seeing people really fighting to help people. Where was I? I was at home actually working, and we had a communication from my boss, the CEO of the company.
So you just work from home?
I work from home, yeah. So our head office is based in Perth. I'm the only one that's sort of remote in Australia. And then we've got offices in the UK.
Zoom calls every day?
Yeah. So
Google Meets or
Google Meets.
Yeah. Are you guys using like Slack, like Max?
No. Why?
No. Well, I'm always used to using like PC
Teams,
Windows.
Yeah,
Teams,
I'm so glad I know.
My new job, they gave us Mac, so I'm like, what the fuck is Slack? I never knew about Slack. I do Google Meets now. It's like a thing.
No. Google platform, and then we just use WhatsApp and stuff to just keep fast communication and stuff. But
what time was it?
Different time zones.
What were you doing? Were you just chilling?
So we obviously, when I first heard about he was actually missing. So they didn't find him straight away
because he was on holidays,
right? Big question mark. I mean, I think
were you guys like, oh, that's crazy, but he'll turn up. No, or were you guys like, no, this is fucked?
No, everyone was very concerned. It's a very tight team. Everyone's very close. There's personal relationships there.
I feel like he's a doctor too, so he would be a responsible human being. He's not going to let his wife get worried,
Yeah. So it's one of those things. If you go missing in 40-degree heat on a Greek island where there's no shade.
Is that how hot it was?
Yeah. I mean, it's, and he wasn't a young guy. So 67, it's not old. It's not young either.
He was walking around and then he was supposed to go this way, but he ended up going that way, right?
They weren't sure. So they couldn't figure it out. He just sort of went to go for a walk to the next sort of town or whatever. And it's not a big place and everyone knows each other. So to go missing was quite unusual. And the concern there is like, has he gone into the ocean? Has he gone into the sort of the back sort of part of the island and gotten lost? Has he been bit by a snake? Has he fallen in a crevice in a cave somewhere? So it was like a full search party, was launched to try to look for him, helicopters and drones and dogs and the whole rest of it, typical place to look for someone. We were all very hopeful. obviously is someone that we all care about and we're close to. And
So how many days was it? Like 6 or 7 days?
it was 5 days in total,
5 days.
4 or 5 days in total. So we hit pause on everything, and what you'd try not to do is just Google, updates and stuff. We just try and sort of sit back and wait from that sort of inside voice. This is a guy with a wife and beautiful kids, and our first and foremost sort of priority was them. Trying to support them and be sensitive to the situation, not trying to leverage the situation to make a buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, can you imagine? That's fucked.
Yeah. So just, and this is the water we're navigating now, but, without sort of getting too deep into it, he was found. He'd obviously gotten some heat stroke and tried to sort of get back to help, and was very close to doing that, but didn't make it.
Mm.
And it's really, it's a loss for the family. It's a loss for us. But if you look at his legacy of work, and what he was able to achieve in his lifetime,
It was a good wicket.
fucking incredible, to lose someone like that. Yeah.
Very kind of insensitive question to ask, but I just got to know, like, it's just a weird part of me, but when you guys got the news, was it like, oh, everyone can just not work today? Or do you guys continue doing what you're doing?
We hit pause. So a lot of us were just trying to sort of keep busy and find things to do. Like typically I should be out there engaging with GPs and doing educational sessions and, knocking on pharmacy doors to look for new partners and stuff. All of that stopped. The only thing I did was run around and collect some of our referral material, posters and things of that nature. Can't exactly have, the face of the company splattered around all over Sydney, sort of, while this was going on, just,
It's proactive of you.
being sensitive to the family and stuff. So that was a mutually agreed thing that we'd all do. But, for the past couple of weeks, we've just been, hit that pause button and reassess and, reflecting on his legacy and how we can now honor it.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for answering that. Yeah. My second question was, how did you guys go from Snap to getting that kind of job offer?
Oh, yeah.
How do you
interesting
go from
question.
automotive to medical?
So I always had an interest in medical. For me, it was a logical thing in a way, because if you look at, okay, I'm a sales guy. I've always been in sales.
And for people that don't know, Anthony and I worked for Snap-on Tools.
Snap-on Tools, yeah.
For the head office.
Yeah.
And
Did I say Snap Fitness? I think I said Snap Fitness.
You just
My
said
bad.
Snap, I think. But
Okay,
it's
cool.
Snap-on Tools, which is a tool company that sells tools to the automotive trade, and it's pretty old school. They run through franchised trucks and just go from workshop to workshop.
Yeah.
So we were working for that head office. You were more managing the actual franchisee business, whereas I looked after a specific diagnostic product line. But yeah, very interesting to go from that. I have an automotive background, whereas you don't.
Franchising
Your
background.
franchising background, yeah. So then from that, I left and I went back to finance broking, but the recruiter that I had just happened to have this other role in a different, was it medical? No, it was
Aesthetics.
like aesthetics. Yeah.
Aesthetics.
And he asked me, do I have
Aesthetics
any?
and what?
Medical. So what it was selling medical devices to plastic surgeons. So
And that's the role where
That's what they call plastic surgery now, aesthetics.
Yeah. Well, so if you think about a plastic surgeon, right? Like, how do you scale your business as a plastic surgeon?
True.
You've got 2 hands. You can't create more time, so you onboard more nurses or support staff. The best way to scale is to buy devices that can perform aesthetic functions, so non-surgically, so that you can grow your business that way. So that's
Interesting.
basically what it was. I was out there, dealing, to a degree, spas and cosmetic surgeries and, a little bit of gyms, GPs and all that sort of stuff as well. But weight-based stuff. So specifically helping people lose weight through electromagnetic devices, stuff that you strap to yourself, and it's meant to replicate 50,000 crunches and that sort of thing.
Damn.
So, yeah.
But like the expensive stuff, not the shit you buy off Amazon that you stick on
So,
your
like,
abs and you're like, I'm going to have abs in 3 weeks.
The plastic surgeon can either buy a new Ferrari or this device, like that sort of
Jesus, yeah.
cost. And then, for a treatment, it might cost you $1,000, but you need 4 treatments to get the best success out of it. So you know,
4Gs. Yeah.
the return on investment is huge.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's like a couple more months and you get the Ferrari after all, right?
correct,
Exactly.
right? So you can make real sort of bank with it.
Damn,
So I always had an interest in that, but also if you look as a salesperson at what industries you can make a lot of money in, potentially, it's either IT or medicine. You know, you could probably do it in retail and not retail, real estate, and there's other things that you can do, but primarily it's going to be that information technology or medicine. I have no interest in IT. I don't know anything about it. I have no interest in selling SaaS subscriptions to anyone.
That's where I've gone.
I've just
That's where
got
I've
no.
gone,
yeah.
So it is SaaS.
For me, I've got no personal interest in it. Whereas the medical side, it's health based. You know, I've got that
You've
interest
got an
myself.
invested interest, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and so that was a great role. I got to flirt with nurses all day.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some fucking hot nurses out there.
Oh, bro. Yeah. So my second day was at an aesthetic conference up in Queensland. And it was the first time that I've ever felt, maybe not the
First time I've ever fucked 4 women at once.
Bro, like I felt like Zac Efron at this place because it was me and about 300 nurses.
Oh shit.
And like a couple of dudes, but they're all gay, right? And I'm a happily
just
married.
like-
I'm a happily married man, but like you could like, it was just fun to have that experience, you know? Like,
and ego boost as well, right?
and just yeah.
If
you
it's
know,
an aesthetics thing,
oh,
was there a ton of just lips the size of
Oh, yeah.
fucking?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you
ass and
if-
titties.
if
Just
you-
ass and titties.
there was a lot of beautiful women,
Natural.
very successful women making bank, you know, but at the same time, there was a lot of women there and men for that matter that you could really say, okay, there's mental health issues.
Mm.
You've just gone too far and now you're sort of taking that aesthetic and applying it to your clients as well. And
Yeah,
we all
Yeah.
see it, right?
yeah.
I gotta ask you, this is a bit of a detour, but I gotta know. So, did you ever watch Dragon Ball Z? Because obviously you're in your 40s, like
Yeah,
my brothers are in their
Obvi-
40s now. And when
It's
I was
probably not obvious to anyone watching, but
exactly. So when I was a young fella, my 2 oldest brother, I got 3 older brothers. The one above me is 3 years older, so he's around Phil's kind of. Well, Phil's only a year or two about, so it's a bad example. But my 2 oldest brothers are in their early 40s at the moment, probably around your age. So, when I was watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid, they'd be like, "Oh, this is cool, but I'm gonna go out and party and fuck chicks," and like I'm at that stage now. When I was like, so one of the characters in the show, kind of random, but they're like a different alien species. They look like humans, but they age at a slower rate. But they live on Earth and they've married Australian women. They've married Earth women, and the Earth women have aged quicker than them, and they've maintained the thing. So my question to you, and we can cut this too, just to save your partner's
Yeah.
agony. But like, you dead set, hand to God, look like you're at least 30, 31. So
max.
That's how I know
So-
I'm getting older too.
so
Yeah.
my
It used to be 26.
question is how much younger or older is your partner, and does it look like you're walking around with a woman who looks older than you?
Fuck, you're gonna get me in trouble, man.
Exactly.
We can cut this.
Is
Like
she
we
the
said.
same? Is she the same age? Answer this first.
No, so
Older or younger?
My wife is 36.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's younger.
Does she look younger than you?
She doesn't look 36, but her biggest fear is that she looks older than me, or is going to look older than me.
You've moved away from the mic. Move your chair
Yeah,
closer.
because I'm so
Move your
nervous
chair
that she's going to
closer.
listen to this and beat the shit out of me.
Physical
Shuffle up.
response.
Shuffle up.
So when we first
Women
met,
always look younger than us, though, so you shouldn't worry about
well,
that.
when we first met, we were at a party and someone actually said to her, "Oh, you look older than him," and she's never forgotten it.
Oh,
God.
She's never
God.
forgotten it. And I think when we met, what was I? I was like 29, so I looked like I was 12. So it was even worse. But yeah, I think that's one of her fears, and I sometimes joke about it just to rev her up. Yeah, she looks young. She doesn't look her age. So
Yeah.
it's just her she's quite secure, and I love that about my wife. She's not insecure at all. But that's probably the one thing that she gets a bit frustrated
What's her
about.
name?
Joanna.
Joanna.
Nice.
It's just out
Shut
of
up.
posterity.
Shout out. And she doesn't know I'm coming to do a podcast today. either.
Oh.
I said I'm just coming to hang
I'm
out
going to
with
the
Phil.
library to do some
No,
study.
I said, Phil's got a housewarming. I'm just going to go because she would probably freak out at the thought of me opening my mouth with other people
On a
being able to
microphone.
listen to it.
So Do you have children as well?
I got one. Yeah, his name's Roman. He just
Congrats,
turned
man.
6. Thank you. The best.
I just witnessed a call on loudspeaker from him asking about something about the game on his Switch. And I was like, holy shit. Because the last time I saw him, he was like a mute. He was pretty shy. I was at the cafe. But I was like, oh my God, he speaks.
Yeah.
Looks like, does he look like more mum and dad?
Uh,
I'm fascinated by this stuff. Like, I love how genetics work. Like, I always ask people, like, who'd you get your eyes from? Your mother or your father?
do you think he looks like me, Phil? It's been a minute, right?
Yeah, it has been a
6
minute
years old.
since
It's
I've
hard
seen
to
him.
tell at 6 years old.
He looks a lot like me, but I definitely see his mother in him.
Mm.
He's definitely got that, which is a good thing. 'Cause she's a great looking. She's beautiful. My wife is beautiful. He's got that the high cheekbones and the a couple of other things. So yeah, it's nice.
On the age thing, you'll meet Emily later.
I can't
but
wait.
She's older than me
Yeah.
and definitely doesn't look at it as
Yeah.
well. So it's a reverse situation of yours because you're the one that looks like a baby.
Gives a fuck, man. Like
Yeah, man.
I know every old dude says this. Like I'm 44, gonna turn 45. It's just a number. It really is like fucking the whole thing about it. Just live your life, man.
And
Word.
I used to preach the shit out of that purely because I worked with a dude at a dealership and he was a sales guy, sales manager, self-titled because we opened like a Skoda showroom, which was a lot smaller than the Volkswagen, but he was 50.
Skoda.
So you're only 6 years off that, right? He was 50 and it was like his life was fucking over, man. He was this Lebanese dude.
Hard life.
His hair was fully white. He had open heart surgery before, and every time he was celiac, which means every time he ate something that upset his gut, he would get like panic and would feel like he's having another heart attack. So he would literally be sitting there with his hand on his wrist, counting his pulse,
That's
being
rough, dude.
freaking out and
That's
just going into a spiral.
Damn,
and I was
bro.
like, dude, and everything I would say, I'd be like, oh, I like this. He's like, oh, wait till you get to my age. I'm like, dude.
But he's right, man. If you got celiac, you don't know.
Em's got celiac.
Yeah, see, that's people with like those kind of issues.
It's
and
fucked.
You don't know unless you've experienced anything like it. You don't know how
You
devastating.
don't know how hard it is, but at the same time, my comparison is you in 6 years are not going to be like doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Everything sucks. I'm old.
Yeah,
my body's
yeah.
falling apart.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
But for me, it's like, I've always been kind of disciplined and self-driven, and that's come through a lifetime of being focused on that. But for me, it's about my son. I want to be healthy. I want to be a superhero for him. I know that's not going to be a long time. Eventually we look at our fathers and we're like, oh, he's human. You know what I mean? I just want to keep that going for as long as I can.
be cool for as long as you can.
And really hopefully instill in him some of the things that I felt benefited me. Like that's why I've got a home gym. I want him to actually see daddy going to a workout. I don't want him to see me get in the car and come back sweaty. I want him to actually have the opportunity to see me working out, even though he just sits there and probably plays a game or something.
It's great too, your home gym.
Yeah.
It's in his garage in Bondi. But let's talk about that because you've been training for ages. I've been training for ages, more on and off. I feel like you're more disciplined than I am.
I don't know.
How many
Until
calories?
lately.
How many calories do you eat a day?
I'm up to about
2,000?
No, it's a lot more than that. I'm probably 2,600 at this point.
What?
But that's for me to maintain. And I hate
So you're
eating.
like, do you do like mad cardio as well?
No, but I do burn off enough energy just through gym practice or just hitting the bag or something that I've got in the gym.
What kind of bag are you hitting?
Heavy bag, like a heavy bag.
No, it's
Oh, right, gotcha.
Zing,
no,
zing. That'll
no,
make
no.
you lose weight, but
No,
you probably
no.
won't look like Anthony.
Well, you might. Fuck,
Might,
there's plenty
maybe.
of Jack fucking Conor
cokehead.
McGregor.
Yeah,
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 true,
yeah.
true.
exactly.
He's made it work, but yeah.
Okay, so in terms of working out, being disciplined, because are you? What's your regime like? How many times a week? Because I know you said you haven't been super consistent,
Yeah.
but the plan is moving forward. You're going to try and do some more powerlifting style.
Yeah,
workouts.
so up until sort of over summer, I was doing 6 days a week, very bodybuilding sort of focus sort of stuff. It's summer. I live in Bondi. I want to look good. I want to be comfortable.
Do you own your place in Bondi?
No, fuck no.
I was gonna
Fuck, I wish,
say,
man.
fucking pimping.
Fucking
Yeah.
wish, man. But yeah, so really bodybuilding focus. But then this month, I've tapered off doing the push-up challenge. So it's a lot of volume and just basically doing some sort of really light, basic sort of training in the gym. Just working on my rotator cuff and my core because I'm going to go into a powerlifting sort of 3-month sort of program.
You gonna put on some mass?
Gonna see, yeah. I've never
Nice,
tried to
man.
do any powerlifting. Maybe not so much mass, but just see how much strength I can sort of build
Strength,
into it. I've never tried.
Mm.
I've just sort of gotten accidentally strong-ish.
Well, if you're talking pound for pound, like if we're talking compared to your body weight,
Yeah.
you're a pretty light dude.
I'm comfortable. Like I'm happy, but like never actually gone for strength. It's always just been mostly mental, just getting a workout in because it makes me feel good.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I'm sort of curious now that I'm about to turn 45. If I'm going to do something like this, now is probably the go. Yeah.
Do you feel, because I'm 32,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just working in an office and not getting all the sunlight I need and
Yeah.
shit, but like I do have days where I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I feel like shit. Like I eat pretty good, so working out. But
Can I just comment on that? Because I think that every winter. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with me? I can't get out of bed. And I'm
It's
like,
just the
oh, wait,
cold.
it's fucking cold and it's dark. I hate this.
Yeah.
I fucking think that every year. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Am I getting old? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wait till summer and you'll be like, ah!
But is it different because independent of summer,
Yeah.
have you noticed because obviously you still try to keep on top of your health, but despite your efforts, have you noticed a decrease in agility
bro,
since you were in
like,
your 30s?
Man, so I was heavily into martial arts when I was in my teens and 20s, other things as well, but like specifically martial arts.
Yeah.
Man, like I had some medical issues when I turned 31, but I didn't even have to train. I barely trained when I was 20, you know, whether it was
You're
the
just like,
gym
Yeah.
or whatever. Like I'd go and do one set of bench press and I'd have a chest, you know what I mean? Or sparring, like hard sparring. I was so lazy, man. I didn't even try. I wasn't sort of working out at home or hitting the bag or anything like that, but I'd be able to go into a hard sparring session and most of the time destroy anyone my size, you know, and have a good run with anyone taller, you know what I mean? Like, or bigger, you know. As soon as you become 31, 32, and you see this in UFC fighters, you know, you get into those 30s.
Slow down.
It changes, man. My 30s was a bit of a write-off. Like I said, I had a medical sort of issue, a parasite and some gut stuff that really fucked me. To the point where I think at my lightest I hit 54 kilos.
Oh, you would have been a walking fucking
Yeah.
corpse.
And what are you rocking at now? Average?
80?
72?
Yeah.
72? Nice.
72. So it's
Bro,
still pretty light.
50, you would have been like Auschwitz
Yeah.
survivor.
You know, so my memories of my 30s when I got married and some of the other stuff, like
So you've been married how long now?
10 years.
Fucking
Wow.
good, man.
10
Real good.
years. Yeah,
How
which
long were you-
surprises me too.
Because I always say as a joke, but I heard this and I always say it to people, I'm like, how long you been with your missus? They're like, 3 or 4 years. I'm like, 5 years, you got to propose at 5. What was it for you?
It was 5 years.
I told you.
The reason was, and this is something I've noticed, women at 27, if you're in a relationship and they turn 27, if you don't put a ring on it, the next guy will.
Really?
Yeah. You see a lot of women, a lot of women at 27, they're
So
really
let's-
analyzing then, is this the guy?
So if let's say I'm dating a chick, she turns 27 in March. I start dating her in April, for example.
Yeah.
We're hitting it off.
You're either the rebound or the...
Yeah, true.
Yeah. You're it.
But let's say we're hitting it off and it's just like magic. I need to propose to her that year.
I don't know.
No. What we mean is if you're with her for 4 years while she turns 27, she's going to be like, is this the guy
Is this
or
the
is it
guy?
the next one?
And then it's just a case of when the next one comes along and the timing of that. So, you know, like, yeah, it just depends. But I met my wife when she was 21, so quite young.
21.
21, 22. And then she kind of said to me that, I know you don't believe in marriage, but she's a Christian. If we're going to get married, 27 is going to be the age.
How do you not have some kind of Christian values when you got a Greek mother?
Yeah. Well, so, yeah, Greek Orthodox.
Was your dad like 9?
No, my dad, I think my dad's Christian. So my dad has the biggest heart in the world. My friend was living in a very religious Muslim household and wasn't coping and came to live with us. So he lived with us from, I want to say 15 to 18. And my dad was like, just don't come home crying. Whatever you guys do, just fend for yourself. And
Don't let me see your tears.
off you go. But to this day, he's Muslim.
What's his name?
Rizal.
Gang.
Rizal.
How sick is it when, like, my family, my second oldest brother, who was like the black sheep in the family, like he was always getting brought home by the cops. He was always being, fighting and getting caught and fucking up in school and stuff. His best mate, who's basically like brother from another mother kind of thing, that guy, Pete, he had a shit fucking run with his family, like really domestic. So he ended up staying with us. And I remember, like, he's like internally indebted to my parents, but my parents are like, we love you as another one of our children. So like, I've seen firsthand how good of a relationship a family can have with an outsider. So like, what Riz must feel for your family is awesome, dude. Like, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and he does exactly that. He's always asking about how my dad is, and it's like, in its a way, like, it's we've never gone, oh, like that's like another dad to you or whatever, because he wasn't around my dad. He was just like, let us have our own space and we could do whatever we want. Which was
he working a lot or what?
He was working a lot,
Painting,
but just that old school European. He just whatever happens,
Self-sufficient,
just go for it. So
if you fucked up though, would he reprimand hard? Or would he
he'd
just
come
be
and collect me from the police station, and we wouldn't have a conversation about it.
Really?
He wouldn't even say anything, but I knew that I fucked up. I'm not stupid.
Where did you grow up, Bondi?
So no, I grew up in the Northern Beaches. So which isn't what you think it is. A lot of people are Northern Beaches, fucking whoop-de-doo, right? But
That's what I think.
I've only been in Sydney since 2022.
Yeah, but Riz, and a lot of our mates who were also Muslim, we just didn't fit into that surfer, Anglo-Saxon from
Private
the Northern
school.
Beaches. Sort of thing. You know what I mean?
You with the other homies.
So we all found each other, like the collection of like Samoans and Afghanis, and
So what was your vibe in school? Because you've got like the athletes, the stoners. You've got the dude who mingles with every group. He's like good at sports, good at getting baked, good at parties, good with chicks. Like, were you a combination of all? Were you like a nerd?
I was trouble.
Yeah,
Trouble,
I was
just straight
trouble,
like trouble.
Yeah,
scrapping on trouble, or just like smashing up cars trouble, or
all the worst kind of things that you can think about. Yeah, I was a troubled kid, man. I was a troubled kid.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice,
So we all were. We didn't have parents, so we were just a bunch of young kids that didn't fit into the area, just running amok. You know what I mean? Like 15 years old, 16 years old.
What was your gang called?
We didn't have a gang. It
Come
wasn't
on.
like it wasn't. It was a gang like that.
What was your tag?
North Shore Boys. or
No,
something like that?
there was no sort of gang thing, but it was just like, my dad. So we had like a granny flat out the back that Riz lived in. So
You used to punch cones and shit out there.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was the spot.
I know this shit.
It was
yeah.
the spot. Everyone used to just come there, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone was living in little 2-bedroom apartments, a whole bunch of families living together. So everyone would just come to our place, and there was always parties. And I feel sorry for our neighbors to this day, but fuck.
Nah.
Sorry, I got
They're fine.
Living at. Did your dad own the place? Like, how old was he when he moved to Sydney?
So
20s,
he
30s?
came in his late 20s, and he originally lived in Wollongong, and moved around a lot in Sydney just based on where the work was at the time. So he'd just be moving around, and my dad worked 6-7 days a week his whole life. Just real that old school European hard work ethic, keep your chin down and just work. Simple life.
Okay, so Joel's really vibing with this right now, but you mentioned earlier, because you and I have a lot in common, but you mentioned earlier from just listening to our episodes that you feel like you've got stuff in common with Joel.
Yes.
What is this
Yeah.
mystical thing?
So I've got a background in performance arts.
No shit.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's all coming back to me. 'cause
Yeah, I've mentioned
Phil
this.
gave me like a full dossier on you around the time he was doing the push-ups, and then it's coming back to me now. But
The push-ups are great, by the way. I want to give a shout out because I mentioned this on a podcast when we first did it. The push-ups are for mental health.
Mental health. Yep.
You're doing the amount of push-ups of the amount of people that have committed suicide last year,
Yeah.
and you're doing that within a month, was it?
Yeah, it's a month period. Yeah.
So it's almost averages about 200 push-ups a day.
Yeah,
What
so there's some days where you're doing 70 or something. I think today was 200. So one of the
Damn.
bigger days.
What were the statistics on male and female?
I think I don't know how that splits, but to put it in perspective, I think it's 3,127
That's the push-ups.
suicides, and you're doing that many push-ups over that given amount of time as an honouring to that. But
What a
also
great
to
way
raise
to
funds.
venerate people and honor them is just like you're putting yourself through pain.
Mm.
Like, oh man, I
And
love
then-
how like if I was an alien from orbit watching humans, I'd be like, there's a beautiful poetic aspect to these dull cavemen creatures. You know, like
Agreed.
I love that. Props to you fellas. Like, I got to ask though, and we'll get back.
You should
we'll
do
get
it
back,
next year.
We'll get back to performing arts. I'll be up for it. But I remember when Phil was doing it around the end, his fucking front shoulders were killing him. Do you have that issue as well?
I've been that's why I backed off all the other training for
shoulders
this
and
month.
fuck?
And just working on the
And
mobility
just working on the
of
rotator
shoulders.
cuff, yeah. So I'm okay
Oh,
because
yeah,
I'm
you
not
did
doing
mention
a whole bunch
rotator.
of bench and all that sort of stuff. Like when we were doing it, I was still doing 6 days a week in the gym, and then that volume on top, which was okay,
Crazy.
but it's not sustainable. Not doing that.
And
many.
we were doing that whilst at Snap-on, so we would like go around and see the guys on the trucks
Yeah.
and then be doing push-ups in between. Like, oh, you're going to go in the workshop? Okay. Ah.
Yeah, oh, look at this dickhead, and it's like, yeah, it was funny.
Tall poppy.
It was funny, yeah. But great cause. The money's for Lifeline. You can raise it for a couple of different people, but I'm doing Lifeline.
Lifeline,
It's a cause that's close to my heart. And I don't think there's much more tragic than losing someone that's just at a point in their life that they feel
Like
They
it's
can't
easier
go on.
option.
No way out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you
that's
imagine?
fucked. You know, so the work that Lifeline does is so critical in being able to help people in that most sort of sensitive point.
That's
Anyway,
brilliant, man. That's
We keep
brilliant.
digressing into these dark
no,
Yeah,
pathways.
no,
man.
it's-
It's like,
It's necessary, but
As a,
performing arts.
as a disclaimer, I got to say, after I went to the gym, I came back and I cooked a bunch of mince and some really expensive Italian pasta and with a bit of pasta sauce in there as well. And then I was like, I want a little something extra. So olives and onions, and then I put some anchovies in there for a little extra salty tang. And I've just been having these gnarly anchovy burps. So
I haven't been smelling them. So
oh,
you're
thank
good,
God,
you're
because
good.
I'm like trying to
If
like.
that's what you're working up to, we're good.
It's great because every time I burp, I'm like, oh, it's fresh anchovy in my mouth. But anyways, so tell me about your
Performing arts.
yeah.
you tell me. I'm more curious about you and what your experience, because you're still in it, right? Like you've actually got an agent and the whole
I did
thing.
3 auditions this week, bro. I'll tell you the story. So like I got a message from my agent Wednesday afternoon, and he's like, oh hey bro, I'll send you a text over. It's for a commercial, and it's funny like I'm all my headshots are shaved, but I had a beard for about 2 months, and then I shaved it to this, and then I did an audition. I did a scene from Pearl Harbor, and I sent it to him because you want to update your agent, so they go, oh yeah, look, like they won't tell you, but if there's like a big thing being going around for an audition, and then like they get a fresh video from you and you're killing it, they're like, oh hey, blah blah blah, this is
Top of mind, right?
Check this guy out. Yeah, he's one of mine. So he's like, bro, you got a mustache at the moment? I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh fuck, dude, it changes your look completely. Like this is great. You could get a lot more roles. I was like, okay, whatever. This is like on a Monday, and then on Wednesday, I'm at work, and he's like, oh, bro, I got an audition for you. And like all the roles that I've been getting recently, like 30, 35, and like a 40-year-old thing. But he's like, and I'm like, man, I don't think I like, I'm reading the description. This is not me. And he's like, no, I've sent them photos of you. They want you, you know.
Because of the mustache.
Yeah, among
Yeah.
other things, yeah. And like, I'm only 5'9", dude. I'm a short dude as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm 5'9", bald. Are you sure? And they're like, yeah. So the first audition he sends me, he texts me, and then he sends me an email. It's for like some kind of commercial. I can't remember what it is. It eludes me now. So I was like, all right, no worries. And then he sends me another text after that. And because I was at work, the first text and email I read was for one thing, but it was very vague. And then he sends me one maybe 2 minutes later, and I thought it was an updated version of the original one. I was like, oh, there's more information about this. Aussie, like what's the brand? Aussie? It's like a banking or something.
Could tell you a fun story about that. But yes,
Yeah.
Aussie home financing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like
Aussie home loans.
commercial for Aussie. perfect. Okay, there's a bunch of lines here, no worries. At this point in time, when he sends this stuff to me, I'm at home, it's about 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I gotta learn these lines, get the lighting set up. The scene was I'm sitting in front of a couch and my wife's sitting next to me, and I'm like, it's like we're being interviewed, and it's like, did you know all Aussie brokers are free? And with Aussie, you can da-da-da, like typical fucking lame shit. And I'm like giving it my all. I finish at about 11 o'clock, send all the stuff over to him.
Sends 3 takes to me for opinions. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I think
that's
this,
right.
this.
Yeah. And it,
Luckily, I'm still awake.
Phil's the homie. I'm like, Phil, which one do you think? Because like I have a very narrow vision of acting. Like I will watch a movie and go, that guy's great, and someone will go, I thought all the actors were great in this. I'm like, no.
You hone in on someone.
He's
right.
yeah, because I've been studying acting since I was this big.
Yeah.
Not at acting, but films themselves.
Yeah.
Without sounding like a douche, like I feel like I've got a stronger understanding of what is talent and what is a good story and what is a good script. Where other people will go, "You're fucking ridiculous, man. It was a great film." Like whatever.
Yeah. They're just you're able to sort of look at the art and craft of it. And
bingo.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it going, no, he wasn't. There was no subtext there. He shouldn't have been doing that. Or like, if you watch our flubber episode, we get into deep topics that no one would consider.
Can I ask you a question before you continue?
Go for it.
You've obviously got relationships with other actors that are sort of out there auditioning and doing stuff.
It's tumultuous, man. Actors are. You've got knives in your back and you don't know it. Actors like I've got people who I've acted with and I've made friends with and I've tried to do projects with, and we have a falling out, but they won't remove you off social media because they want to see you progress.
It's so gross.
It's
man.
gross,
It's
dude.
so gross.
But some of them are like hot chicks, so I can't get rid of them because they're hot and I want to look at them.
You just in case.
I want them to see me.
The reason I ask is because like I've got a thing about actors that don't actually watch film and study directors, and
I'm not a director studier, but I watch film.
Yeah.
Like people go, "Oh man, this was a Coen Brothers film," and I'm like, eh. Like the only time like I do see like you see your Tarantino film, big cut shots and like explosions and the N-word and stuff. Like you can see a fingerprint of a director. That shit's never cared to me. The only time I've really, really liked a director is Luc Besson. He did Fifth Element.
Yeah, of course.
He did Valerian.
Yeah.
He did Leon, the Professional.
Yeah.
He has that grimy kind of sepia-esque fucking really lived in worlds. And it's always like the music's funky and there's always violins and the characters are great. Everyone's really large, like Gary Oldman and Leon.
So
Everyone!
So
you know,
good.
and like Fifth Element. This motherfucker hasn't seen Fifth Element. I'm
I
trying to
haven't
get him
seen
watch
any
it.
of them.
So like
Leon. Start with the
Leon?
Professional.
yeah, Professional.
Oh,
Natalie
bro.
Portman's first role, dude. She was like 12 years old.
Right.
Incredible.
So, yeah, but film big time. Like I'll study film like it's like I see. Fun story. This is a bit of a Joel Law story. So, I always watch films and love films and just appreciate them for what they were. I'm maybe 10 or 11, maybe younger. My father takes me and my older brother, Sean, to see Shrek in the cinema. And I'll never forget this. It's imprinted in my brain. We're sitting there watching it, and I'm not the fan of Shrek. It was so, hey there, you're an all-star. And the people donkey. Like, I don't get on those lame-ass Disney Pixar bandwagons. I fucking hate Pixar and Disney, dude. Toy Story and The Incredibles was tight, but everything else, it's just musicals.
Up's good.
Oh, up is sad, yeah.
Up.
Not like I don't judge anyone who likes
I get
that
it though.
shit,
I'm not into that
doesn't-
Disney.
I know
thing.
you wouldn't.
I'm with you. I understand what you're saying.
I'm sitting there, and then it's the scene where Shrek saves Fiona. Is it Fiona, the princess? Yeah, Shrek saves Fiona, and then she's like, they're having a nice little D&M, and then she runs inside to that little cabin thing, and he like goes in there, and he finds out she's an ogre because the full moon she turns, and he was like, holy fuck. I'm sitting there. Shrek opens the door. He's like, Fiona, why'd you run away? And my dad goes, I bet she's an ogre too. And then bam, she's a fucking ogre. And then I remember going like, this motherfucker's seeing something I'm not. And ever since then,
I love that.
it's not like an autistic thing, but ever since then, I really watched films. Like I'll sit there and I go, why did the director focus on that person a little longer?
Yeah.
Why did that person add a little at the end of their sentence? And
I
then
think-
almost to the point where I became proficient at understanding body language.
Yeah.
To the point where it's almost like autistic. I'm like, it's probably a bad thing.
Which is one of the good things, but the negatives about studying acting formally is that you
Can't
become
appreciate-
a bit of a because you tend to analyze the craft
I'm
and
like,
the technique, and he's doing this. And,
Look at the extras.
Oh yeah, Brad Pitt's eating a packet of chips again because he
likes to
the doing. Like
Oceans.
Yep,
Yeah,
Oceans,
He
for
loves,
example.
loves eating food. Yeah, this is my man over here. Yeah.
So, but also what you learn about, through the formal study of acting is you become almost like a lie detector
Bingo.
because you can read the body language, you can hear
Oh,
the
yeah.
tone, you can see where the eyes go because you've been in that situation yourself. You've laboratory tested it. So you can kind of pick up, hang on a minute, you're bullshitting.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. It kind of ruins so many films for me now that if I watch it, I'm like, fuck. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Why did you just that little look to the left? Just you're not in it. You didn't
Exactly.
believe exactly what you said.
Yes.
You know what I
get it.
mean? Whereas
but
then you really appreciate someone like Gary Oldman, who is just always consistent,
Always on.
in it, always like finds the character.
Who's
and
your
is able
favorite
to deliver
actor?
it.
Agreed. We're on the same. Phil, I will say this. Let me just say this for context as well. Like, I'm probably the worst actor because like every project I've ever done, because I used to do a lot of theater, and I would put at least 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even 4 months into that a theater production, and I was without sounding like a douche, I personally felt as satisfied as Gary Oldman would feel. However, I'm so lazy being in Sydney because being in sales and being exhausted. I'll get a script on a Sunday night. I'll learn the lines up until Friday, and then I'll come in here and like do the scene with Phil. I haven't done any of the back work like I used to with theater. And then I'm like, Phil and I will do 2 or 3 takes. 2 or 3 takes. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, I'm like, oh, Phil, I hate this. This is shit. And it's not because I'm a bad actor. It's because I haven't put the work in. But
I think
so it comes down to just dedication. But I will say this motherfucker right here, he'll learn a 2-page script for me in 25 minutes. Like, he'll be reading the script for me, and then he'll be like, all right, are we doing a couple more takes? He'll drop the script and he'll know it word for word. And he'll identify things that I don't, because I'm too busy thinking about, oh, okay, so if the actor's feeling this way, then he's likely feeling it because of this.
he's only
But
doing a
Phil-
fraction of the work.
Yeah. But then Phil will be like, he'll come from a fresh outside perspective and be like, no. See, you're doing it like this, but the script says this. You need to be portraying this, and like he's the man. He's the fucking man.
I wanted to get myself in this, so thank you for bringing me into
course.
this
Yeah.
because
Hey, welcome to the conversation. Phil.
because I haven't studied acting, but I feel very strongly I vibe very strongly with what you guys are saying when you're watching movies, because I'm the guy that's literally like, probably not to the point of like, oh, why did you do that head turn? But I pick up very easily where I'm like, not realistic enough, or too overdone here, like very quickly, and I'll just lose it very quickly. I'm like, this scene is nothing to me now, but let me see how they did it. Let them finish it.
The worst for me is I don't get baked anymore, but if I get high, I'll start a film and I'll turn it off after 2 minutes because I know I can see their acting.
Yeah.
Like, I think the last film I saw where I was like truly immersed in it. Oh fuck, I can't even remember. What was the last? I was going to see Furiosa tonight as well. I was probably just going to go and watch Mad Max, but oh man, I can't remember the last film I watched where I was like, boom, like these motherfuckers did so well. Usually if there's like a Gary Oldman or someone in there, like a Octavia Spencer or something, I'm in. But for me, unless you have your answer of who your favorite actor is, it goes like this for me. So I love Ben Mendelsohn. You know Ben Mendelsohn?
Yep, I do. I can tell you a great story about Ben too.
Tell me you've met him.
I haven't met him, but I've I spent some time with Shayna Bess.
Oh shit!
yeah.
How?
Long story, but he told me a story about Ben Mendelsohn, which is, I don't know if I can get into this, but I'll share it anyway.
Wasn't Ben on the gear for a while?
So I don't know about any of that.
I will not comment.
Because it doesn't matter because he's fucking come back.
I don't know about any of that, but this story that I'm familiar with is that
Amazing
when
Australian
he was
actor.
working on Animal Kingdom,
Yeah. With Joel Edgerton.
yeah, he called the key cast members, the brothers, and this is when they weren't working. So he called them up and said, I need you to meet me here. So he was waiting in a car.
This is this during filming, like one
No,
night.
before filming when they were prepping.
Yep.
Right. So they all go to the car or wherever they're going to meet up. And he had ski masks. And he's like, we're going to go rob a convenience store. And he was serious.
He would do that.
He was serious. And if you
He's got that laugh.
if you think about the film where he was the kind of the driver of the, the really dark sort of stuff.
I did a scene from Animal Kingdom. I did
There you go.
I did the scene where he comes up to the younger brother. He's like, what kind of drink you making?
Yeah.
Oh,
Rum and Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
I
that
was
scene.
in that scene.
Yeah. That's not a very gay drink. I
Yeah.
feel like I did that scene.
Yeah. So I don't know if he had a
Did
gun
they
or
legit
whatever.
do it?
They didn't do it, but right up to the edge of like them believing
G'd up.
that, this is going to happen, and he's impinging on them so hard that this is important for them to do. So to the point where they were potentially committing a crime as preparation. Now, I don't agree with that kind of stuff. I think,
Do you think to him it
try
was just
acting.
seeing,
That's his
I would have
process.
been all for it
that's
though.
just
That's his
seeing
process.
if he could influence these guys or
I
to
think-
be able to
I think,
portray that
every
belief.
actor's got their own different way of getting to a place that they need to get to.
Yeah.
And Joel will be able to reflect on this quite.
I got a story about Russell
Yeah. What a lot of people don't know about acting is it's about affecting someone else.
Mhm.
So it isn't what you're feeling and what you're going through. That's important. You need to sort of consider that sort of stuff. But the primary objective is, what do I want from you?
Mhm.
What do I want to make you feel? What do I want you to do?
Mhm.
Right. So what he was doing in that situation is putting himself in a position where it's like, he could do that. He was like, I
How do
want
I
you to do
influence?
something that I want. I want to go and rob this place. I want you to do it.
Mhm.
And sort of prepping them for that. And some people need that.
Mhm.
Or some people will just do it when they turn up on the day. It just depends.
And I think the place where I have a bit of a, because I didn't do much acting, but I did like drama, and I always enjoyed acting. I've always thought that was like a pipe dream for me, but I was never going to pursue it. But for me, I have this logical stack in my brain where I just go, okay, that is a logical outcome to what that scenario would be like in real life. And that's all acting is. Like, if you're doing a scene and you're thinking, oh, what would I be feeling? What would I be doing this? I'm like, no. If you're talking to someone in real life, you always have a narrative or an objective
Yes.
there.
Yep.
So you're always trying to get something by what you're saying.
That is the foundation of acting.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's how I think. And that's why I think Joel praises me for when I do scenes with him and I think of things that he hasn't thought of, is because I just think of that like, no, why are you saying that to me? Like, you got to think, you're saying this to me for a specific reason because you're trying to either get a reaction out of me or you're trying to steer the conversation in a certain way.
Or you want me to do X.
Yeah.
Or you want me to feel Y.
Yeah.
There's things that you want me to do.
Yeah.
What is that thing?
Exactly.
So, but then, when you learn and you study, then it's a case of, well, okay, I know what I want. I'm going to fight for it. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm going to impinge on you. I'm going to, there's techniques and stuff you can apply. But at the end of the day, I'm fighting for this. But the good actors are the ones, I think, that are then receiving what's coming in. It's not one-sided.
It's if you can portray when the other person says their line,
Yeah.
and you can portray that is the first time you've ever heard that,
Yeah.
and maybe
It's not
you've
a difficult
calculated
thing
it
to learn.
or tried to steer it that way. I was just saying I think the main reason why I think I do decently well is because I think of it of an angle of what would the real life situation be? You're saying this thing for a reason to try and influence the situation.
That's what it always comes down to. It's
Yeah.
and they teach us this in acting. And I tend to forget this when I'm like, oh fuck, I know I'm taking up Phil's time, so I got to film real quick, and I'm like, disheveled. But it's like, you don't speak unless you have something to say. It's like I'm not going to sit here and talk to you guys about what I'm literally explaining right now if I don't have a meaning behind it,
Mm.
you know? So it's the same thing.
And unless what comes out of my mouth or through in my actions gets me to my objective
Yeah.
via you,
Yeah.
just sit, chill.
Yeah.
There's no point to it. So, then it's about, all right, what does Phil want? And then that's where the conflict comes. I want one thing, you want a different thing. Out of that, we have conflict, but I'm going to let what your objective and how you're coming at me affect me. And then I'm going to allow that to inform what I come back to you with.
And if that is, if your reaction to what I say is wrong on camera, people will pick it up and they won't even know why they think you're a bad actor, but they will pick it up.
They 100% pick it up.
The actors like a Margot Robbie, she'll do like she'll buy a brand new diary and like create a whole backstory about the character, and that obviously works for her. I don't have the patience to do that because I'm like sitting there going through that kind of shit. That doesn't work for me. So like for me,
it's also not your job and livelihood yet.
Yeah,
you may find a longer process eventually.
But what I can say, based on what Phil just said, is the only regrets I've got that someone that went through that process. And I'm not in the game anymore. I'm not out. I don't have an agent. I'm not auditioning. I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff. But if I reflect back on when I was doing that, my only regrets are the ones that I lost because of me.
Because you didn't work hard
because
enough.
I should clarify that. It wasn't that I didn't work hard enough. It's I didn't get what I wanted out of that experience. I didn't, whatever my take on that character was or that scene, I didn't get it across because I hadn't done the prep work.
Word.
I hadn't done whatever I needed to do to get to that place. So I walked out of the room. I'm like, I'm not happy with that.
That's me every time, yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I win based on just my looks or whatever, how fulfilled am I going to be by that? Great, I got a job.
Yeah.
For me, I wasn't
it's a hollow
about
victory, yeah.
I was never one of those actors that I just want to be on set. You get these actors, I just want to be on set. I feel comfortable on set. I fucking hate being on set.
As lame as, dude, yeah.
Right? If you like that, that's fine. It just wasn't for me.
I like the best acting for me, and that's why I love theater so much, bro. You should have seen me when I did theater. I thrived like.
It's very different too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
but like theater, like I'll tell you what the penultimate crescendo zenith of acting is. If we were doing a scene right now and the scene was like 12 pages long and you and I started and you're watching or whatever, we start off, why'd you fucking say that? Blah, 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 and we're going off and on. At least until maybe like a minute or two in, or maybe 2 or 3 minutes into the actual dialogue. That's when you're not conscious of everyone in the cameras or the theater or whatever. And that's when you're like, you're set in there. It's
suddenly honed in.
It's a true thing about fake it or make it. Like even like Dustin Hoffman says it like, I could be like, fuck you, asshole. And like, I could say it and it could sound aggressive, but I feel nothing. Like a lot of young actors, they feel like they need to feel something, right?
Yeah.
You don't. Obviously you want to, but the thing is, so we're 3 minutes in, that's when the nerves have gone and then you're like, the every line feels organic.
It's flowing.
And like we've been rehearsing and you go, yeah, well, I fucking stole your car.
Yeah.
But this time around you go, yeah, well, I stole your car.
That's my whole life, man, is that chase for that flow state that you can get in acting where you come out of yourself almost.
You do.
And you're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's just there and you're just flowing and you're in the moment.
Yeah, and every emotion is so natural and the words become natural. And then by the end of it, it feels like a heartbeat. And then you're like, and you're looking at each other like, oh, fuck, dude, the scene's over. We're done. Holy fuck, I can't even remember the scene anymore.
There's not a better drug.
And like,
There's not.
Agreed.
There's not a better drug.
I've never reached that with film. I've always reached that with theater.
Of course,
but like,
because theater is like a live thing, right?
Me
Film,
too.
there's too many interruptions. You did theater as well.
I came here looking for theater. There's not a lot that I found. They're very clicky as well. But so here's the thing, right? I want to get all this shit out of the way. Ben Mendelsohn for his Oh wait, no. Let me get back to the original story.
Yeah.
I'd say Ben Mendelsohn, Michael Pitt. I love Michael
Great
Pitt.
actor. Yeah,
oh man,
very underrated.
I got a fucking I got a Michael Pitt tattoo from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, wow.
Jimmy Darmody.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of Mel Gibson lately. I love Mel Gibson, bro. Fun story. Mel Gibson. He has a video on YouTube. He's like, when he was teaching, because he does a lot of directing now. He said, "I want you to imagine." Like if he does because this is his directions for them. Because obviously Mel Gibson's amazing. Watch The Patriot. Watch anything. He says to them, you can watch on YouTube. He goes, imagine the feelings that you'd be having in this scene if it's in a really emotional scene, and how would your breathing be for that? That's what he says. So he goes, if your child's just died, imagine what your breathing would be like.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets them to do that, and then
Mm.
the floodgates come, and things like that.
Can you do his voice?
I can't. No, I can't. I'm.
Was it you
He's
that,
so deep.
was it you
so
that
deep.
said it sounds like
gravel and
gravel in a brick? Like
Yeah.
Matches
But
his face.
My old coach. So there was two main acting studios in Brisbane. You've got in the Gold Coast, you've got the Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, in West End in the Brisbane, where I used to go to, it's called the Factory. Chris Evers, Chris Williams, I can't remember his name, but he was my acting teacher. He's a fucking legend, dude. Real nice guy.
What sort of technique? Like what are they?
What was
the
her name?
foundation?
I can't remember her name, but it's like
Meisner? No.
No, it wasn't. No. It was a woman in particular. It wasn't Meisner or Stanislavski or anything. It was like it was putting images, and I kind of use this, putting images to actual. Because if I said to you, like, have you been on holidays before? When was the last holiday you went? Like where?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Like I'm asking.
Last holiday I took was I can't even remember when I last took a holiday. Let's say Italy.
All right.
That's
So
what I
when I
remember.
say, what was the best part of Italy? Just describe it to me right now. What was your best part?
I was in Capri drinking a coffee, and the guy from Mad Men walked by.
And how'd you describe drinking that to Capri?
Oh,
Like
it
was
was beautiful. It was warm Mediterranean sun. I was with my wife and friends. It was beautiful. People everywhere. I was relaxed. I think I was wearing a linen shirt.
perfect? All right.
Yeah.
Now you been to Russia?
No.
All right. Right now, describe to me what it was like going to the Red Square. Just try it.
Cold as fuck. Grey as fuck. Interesting. Because it was.
That's pretty. Hang
yeah.
on, that's pretty good though. Like
Yeah.
that was, but that's the thing where it's like, so you may never have. Let's say you've never been to Russia, but in the scene you have to talk about Russia. You could just literally take the images from Italy and then implement that. So be like, oh man, the Red Square. We fucking drank vodka and like replace it Capri. That was the acting style. So
Yeah, right.
So if I'm reading a script and it's like, and they're describing something, you're using images and you're like imagining that, and then
so you use a real life memory and then you replace things.
No, you can, but you could say like, let's say it was Pearl Harbor, right? I did the scene from Pearl Harbor recently. He's like, I should have died in that water. I should have died over there. When I was in that water, I made a deal with God. So for the whole week before I filmed that scene, I'd be sitting here like we're talking to you guys, and I'd imagine it was just like this much. Look, the water was here, like it was basically up to my nose, and I was drowning. And it was cold and wet, and I was in France, and I was just like, and then I imagined like a piece of the wing of my plane came out, and I went and sat on it, and I was just like dying of hypothermia, and I was like, please God, let me see the woman I love one more time. So I kept having that image over and over, and eventually emotions started forming, sadness, fear, regret. So then when I did the scene, I was like, I should have died over there. Like when I was in that water, I made a deal with God.
Yeah.
I told him I was fucking sorry. Like you know,
There's different things that'll work for different people. Phil.
yeah.
So obviously
doesn't
in that
work for me all the time.
Doesn't work all the time. So that's when you need other. That's why I asked him like, what was the foundation of the techniques that you
Yeah.
learn, right? Because there's
Yeah.
different philosophies and different methodologies.
I use Meisner and all that shit though. For
You
sure.
use Meisner. Yeah. See, Meisner doesn't
Stanislavski,
work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. I never
What's
sort of
Meisner?
gelled. So Meisner is it's
Sandy
more
Meisner.
analytical, right? So I am learning to gauge everything that's going on with you. So a foundational technique, for example, would be, you're wearing a military, you're wearing a green jumper.
I'm
And
wearing
you would
a
say,
green
I'm
jumper.
wearing a green jumper.
Yeah.
You're wearing a green jumper. And then we would communicate just by using that sentence, but in different ways.
Oh, you've told me about this.
Yeah.
You,
and then,
you say that same sentence back and forth
Yeah.
in different tones until you've basically
and then eventually you will
exhausted
say, you're wearing a black shirt, as if to, it could be
To
like,
cut it,
why are you
yeah.
wearing a black shirt?
It
It's not
basically
to cut it, it's just to continue the communication
It
without
teaches-
relying on dialogue.
Yeah, it teaches you how to be completely engaged and like not focused on anything else.
Yeah.
So like you're not expecting the person to finish talking so you can get your lines out. It's literally like you're wearing a black shirt. I am wearing a black shirt.
Mm.
You're wearing a black shirt.
Mm. Yeah, I'm wearing a black shirt.
Yeah, but you're wearing a black shirt.
I'm wearing a black shirt.
You're wearing a black shirt.
I am wearing a black shirt.
Well, my pants are blue.
Your pants are blue.
Yeah, my pants are blue.
Your pants are blue.
My pants are blue.
Your pants are blue.
So what is
Yeah.
that's a particular
So,
technique,
like-
is it?
Yeah, it's a particular technique and it's designed for a certain situation. I never liked it because I always could see people turning it into like a little sport.
I was doing that there for a bit there because I was trying to push
Yeah.
along. But yeah, it's true. Like,
I preferred improvisation, but just because improvisation works for me doesn't mean that's going to work for everybody.
the best thing I ever used, the best version of improv I use is like the what if. So like for some actors will literally, let's say a scene where a woman's like being, assaulted and she has to be in the shower crying and the mascara's running down and she's like, I've been sexually assaulted. Some women might actually go into a part of themselves where they've actually done that. Or males as well, depending on the circumstance. Or you could use something that's a little bit it's less organic, but it's a bit more healthy and safer, meaning you can jump in and out, is a what if. So if I said, Phil, like, do you remember that time you're at the McDonald's and that dude tried to fuck with David? That's automatic. Yeah. So that's instantly going to induce emotions. But if I said to you, I want you to imagine you were at a McDonald's and someone poured a drink over Jackie's head, automatically you feel something, right? You're like, oh, your hackles are up. But because that's never happened, you can finish the scene and just switch that off.
Yeah.
That's a what if. What if that happened?
What if that happens?
Yeah.
It's like it's a proxy. It's a healthier version.
The other thing, if you're digging into your own life, it can be tricky because you've resolved stuff.
Exactly.
So if you've resolved
or
it, and then
if
you're
you
trying
use
to
the
like,
same emotion,
Yeah.
if you use the same traumatic thing for every film you did for 12 films,
Yeah.
or eventually it becomes stagnant, right? You'd be
Yeah.
like, I've become numb to this.
but for some people that works.
Right.
So we're all different, and that's the beauty of learning acting. You're an individual. It's your own canvas. Whatever gets you to where you need to be, so long as you're not doing weird stuff like Jared Leto sending rats to, like
The
that's
Joker when he did,
that's
you see
just
that
a-
shit?
Really?
He
that's
was
just
like,
weird.
yeah.
Not weird, but method acting has become its own form of weird
become a gimmick.
marketing.
Who got alienated for method acting? Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf's
in
one
the
of my
Tank
favorite actors
movie.
as well.
Yeah.
In the
I love
Tank movie,
Fury, yeah.
when he actually pissed
pulled
his
his tooth
pants
out and
pulled his tooth out.
Bro, you've
But the
seen,
pulled
have you
tooth is
seen
probably
Fury?
worse.
I've seen Fury.
Bro,
It's pretty good.
That
He's great.
book of Isaiah chapters 12
Yeah.
part where he's like, here am I, send me, and he starts crying, bro. So I'd say my favorite actor of all time would likely be Shia LaBeouf because I've loved Shia LaBeouf since even Stevens. That was a big show in my family growing up with my brothers. And then when he went through his Transformers and he did all the acid and like everyone was making memes of him, making jokes. I never judged him. I was like, oh, he'll get himself back. And then he was with FKA Twigs and apparently he hit her and stuff. And he's a mere goth now and all that shit. Despite everything, I've never stopped loving Shia LaBeouf and his acting has only improved for me. So Ben Mendelsohn I'd say is my favorite Aussie actor. Shia LaBeouf's my ultimate actor. And then you've got like the Garys and everything. So
I think it takes a special kind of person to shout out to Shia. Imagine your job that day is to stand in front of a fucking huge green screen, surrounded by people pointing cameras
Honey
and
boy.
fucking technical equipment at you, and you've got to pretend that a golf ball or a tennis ball
is a transformer.
is a transformer from a different fucking planet,
Yeah.
and you've got to be able to sell that authentically.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole level of skill around that. And you're talking about what if and using different sort of situations. Like in my head, I'm thinking, well, obviously I've never had a conversation with a robot before, but I've had a conversation with a boss, Phil, my son, whatever. How can I take that similar sort of situation and pretend that I'm having that with a transformer? The dialogue that's coming out of my mouth is more specific to that. But, how can I sell that? So I buy the Shia thing, man. Like I respect him because for me, it was when I watched Transformers and I'm like, that kid's pretty good, man. Like to be able to do what he's doing there and he's confident and he's selling it, like that's solid, man. That's
I
hard work.
respect whenever an actor has to interact with a non-existent CGI thing because to me, as soon as it becomes bad, it's so obvious.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if it's good, you're like, I believe that and well done to you.
Definitely.
For me, it'd be Brando.
Oh, Marlon, let's just be clear. Like, I've got preferences for favorite actors.
Yeah.
Currently, Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the most living best actor. However, he'll put a year into a character. But I've preached bloody murder to this that Marlon Brando is and always will be the greatest actor of all time.
God tier. Yeah.
male best. Bro, did you see him playing like Julius Caesar?
Oh, dude.
They say Brutus is an honorable man.
Dude.
Oh, on the
Dude.
waterfront. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth. Like,
Yes.
incredible sort of work. Yeah,
Right.
Brando's
Bro, yeah.
G level.
you care of fools, yeah.
But then, I like different people for different things. So someone like Alain Delon, the famous French actor, his energy.
Yeah,
and
is he the one with the
style-
moustache or?
He had a moustache for some, but like 60s sort of icon, sex symbol icon sort of.
French film is next level, bro.
Oh, dude. But
So
like
good.
his energy and quietness and style, like now that you watch sort of modern, like Gosling and Brad Pitt and all these sort of guys that are playing like these hitmen and these different kind of characters, they all owe homage to him.
He
'Cause
said-
was
he-
the OG of
trendsetter,
that
yeah.
sort of, going from the Bogart thing of like that sort of almost cartoonish sort of approach and that whippy repertoire sort of comebacks.
Well,
and
what are you
stuff.
talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know here, babe.
Whereas this guy could just walk through a scene beautifully, like
Yeah.
a ballet dancer, and just smolder and sell it that he was like this mysterious dark individual without trying.
yeah.
No acting involved. Well, I'm sure acting involved, but just a different level of just a different kind of energy. And then obviously like guys like Denzel and Pacino is the one that I always think of.
Pacino.
It's easy to throw out names like Brando and Pacino, but Pacino.
There's a reason why they're the warlords, right? Like Pacino, like Dog Day Afternoon, these original ones that he did, like
dude.
all the stuff he did before The Godfather and
Yeah.
he blew up, like just phenomenal.
There's a scene in Dog Day Afternoon that I think about all the time, still to this day. where
Attica.
he's walking through, he's pacing, he's going through all this, he's in this bank and there's all these police outside and he's trying to figure out what to do. And there's a chair and out of frustration, he walks past this chair and he knocks this chair down and he continues pacing and he's thinking to himself and he goes and picks the chair back up and he puts it back in.
Yeah. I know the scene you're talking about. Yeah.
That to me is a stage. You're clearly a stage actor because you're taking over that whole space and you're using
He's
everything
using
in that
the space. Yeah.
But the thing I always love about Pacino that so many actors don't do, he's having fun.
Yeah.
And it's like people forget. And Pacino, for his more out there, Heat and
Yeah.
Devil's Advocate and all
Yeah.
these kind of films where he's like out there,
Yeah.
overselling it. He's having fun, man.
Oh yeah. I'm a
He's-
fan of man.
And how good is that? How good is that you're doing your craft, that is serious, and
But
he's
it's
playing
still
dark characters,
entertaining.
but he's enjoying the process,
Yeah.
and you can feel that, and I love
Tom
that, man.
Tom Sizemore, like I think it's difficult. I probably got a top 20
Yeah, me too.
who I would like
Me
to
too.
dine with. Like
Me too.
I'd say maybe Shire or Ben are on the top of that list, but
Mm.
like I mean Tom Sizemore is up there as well. Like love Tom Sizemore. I had one of my acting teachers, Charles. He was an African American dude. He was actually like, "You remind me of Tom Sizemore." I was so honored.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
You think I like this hair,
Yeah,
man?
yeah, I
Like,
can see
Point
that.
Break and shit.
Yeah.
But Tom Sizemore, before he died recently, was like, one of his quotes was like, because when I first started acting, I was all comedy, and then I got into drama. Because so when I started studying acting, I thought I was going to be a comedic actor, and then I was like, oh, we're doing Shakespeare, we're doing fucking American Buffalo, we're doing all this serious stuff, and then I started to learn how to do a bit more serious work, and I appreciated the serious work. I've only recently gone back to comedy in the last 2 or 3 years, but I was trying to really focus on being as realistic as possible to make the scene for people watching be like, oh fuck, he said that, this is so real. And I really did enjoy doing that. But I remember reading Tom Sizemore said, real is good, but entertaining is better. So I've learned to throw a bit of that Whipple sauce in there as well.
That just and without trying to sound cliche, but that just speaks Jim Carrey to me because he is not at all realistic, and we've had conversations about this.
But
if
he's
you saw
iconic.
someone acting like that in real life, you'd be like, "What the fuck is this person doing?" But he's selling it
Thanks,
so
Guido.
well
Yeah.
with his overacting.
But how many
that
people
you
can
be-
do that level of overacting? It's
No
probably
one.
And
Jim
get away with
Carrey
it.
and Nick Cage. That's it.
Phil said the same thing. He's agreed. Like no one will ever replicate Jim Carrey.
No
ever.
one.
No
one can ever do.
It's true.
I would
such
put
overacting.
Nick Cage up there, just in terms of being able to
Nick Cage.
Different style.
different
though.
style.
Different style.
I love Nicolas Cage, but if I get high, if I really study his acting, like he's so passionate about acting. Like you see Nicolas Cage, like I remember it's got those actor's top 10 movie up, and they talk about, and he's like from his first to his last movie, and like they talk about the process. Nicolas Cage is an appreciator of old films, much like us, like black and white films from like the 20s and stuff. Specific characters he'll base his character off. Or he did one thing where he was like, when he did that movie in Vegas where he plays like that guy drinking himself to death.
Living Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Incredible
And he
film.
was saying like he was saying in this interview, he was trying to get the syncopated rhythm of his character, and he actually had the dude he was based the story off in the trailer with him. And the guy was lying there drunk already, like with Lyme disease. He was fucked. And he was like, Nicolas Cage said he was like playing the bongo drums before he went and did the take because he wanted to get the version.
Fuck.
However, when I watched Nick Cage and he's like, dragged into the sidewalk until you piss blood. Like his acting just doesn't do it for me.
Imagine being a director on a film and your lead principal is Nick Cage and you've got to direct him.
Oh man,
how difficult that would be. How nervous you would be to go to Nick Cage and say, "Hey, can you just tone it down a little bit?"
Let's be real. Like Nick Cage makes great films like National Treasure, Con Air.
big fan of Con Air.
Raising Arizona. Like he is great. But like you've seen like Vampires Kiss and shit, right?
Yeah. He's
Bro, I gotta say Vampires
inconsistent,
Kiss.
but I think that's the beautiful thing about film is that it is a collaborative effort.
Word.
It is a collaborative, and so many things can go wrong. They're huge productions at that scale, and you just don't know. You just don't know. And if you've done as much work as Nick Cage, you're gonna have some. He's gonna have a bit of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, particularly with the style of acting that he does. Who is it? It's Jack Nicholson who famously said the talent is in the choices.
Yeah.
And it comes down to not only choosing the script that you're working of, but also who you're working with. And the choices that you're making in your acting.
Definitely.
And that's Jack Nicholson, and who is famously a brilliant writer in any film that he does.
He's up there with the Brandos. Like he's
and this is why you got to respect, and this is without knowing too much detail, but this is why I feel like I need to respect stories like McConaughey, where he was obviously chosen for rom-com, and then that's all he was given. And then he goes, no, I want to do something else. And then I think it was like 3 years or something.
He
where
turned down like what, 50 mil or something like that?
Did not accept a job for 3 years because they were all just rom-coms just to change his genre. And I respect that because it's like, it speaks to the choices. If you're just going to go, all right, I'll just do anything that people throw at me.
Yeah.
He actually, because
Rain of Fire.
I love McConaughey. Like same thing. Like I grew up watching McConaughey from day dot, Rain of Fire and shit, and like
Rain of Fire was later because
Dazed and Confused and shit.
Yeah,
he was the rom-com guy, and then Rain of Fire was sort of his like, I'm gonna be a serious dude,
let's do some
badass,
action, which is an awesome film.
Fuck yeah, dude!
Awesome
Come
film.
on, big boy!
Awesome film.
Go ahead and have your little.
But to go from
soiree.
Dazed and Confused to
Fool's Gold,
to Fool's Gold to then True Detective. I mean, that's
True Detective is so lit. Season
journey.
1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I remember, so my mum would always read like Woman's Weekly and Who magazine and shit. Like she'd just get like trashy magazines to read, and she'd always put it in the toilet. So like I'd take like 20-minute shits, not because like I had big shits, but because I'd always go to the end and it'd be like the celebrity goss. And I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. And I remember around the time Fool's Gold came out, every single magazine for like 2 years always had a segment of McConaughey. And it was always like, here he is again, McConaughey, topless at a beach, tanned with his abs. Does he not own any shirts? And it's the same thing with the Shia LaBeouf. I remember seeing that and going, leave McConaughey alone. He's sick, dude. Yeah. So like, I've never judged McConaughey from 1 to 2. So
yeah.
And then I remember when Dallas Buyers Club came out and he actually won the Oscar. I was like, fucking hell yeah. This dude did fucking Surfer Dude, Dazed and Confused. He did all that fucking trashy rom-coms. He did, what was it, Mississippi Burning and shit. Sick. Bro, but like...
If you think about when McConaughey was doing all those rom-coms though, you can think about the engine behind him. So it wasn't just him making a choice. It was his PR.
Oh,
it was his
time.
agent.
Yeah.
It was the press. It was
Have
the
you read Green Lights yet?
I haven't, no.
It's
Bro,
good.
here's the thing, right?
Do it in audiobook because it's him reading it.
Yeah. To tie in with what I was just mentioning about why I love him so much, I've never really listened to like actors' autobiographies. And then Phil said, oh, bro, do you like McConaughey? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I love him. And he's like, get on Audible because I was already on Audible. Check it out, and like I love green lights. I actually bought green lights for my mother and my brother for Christmas last year because that's how much I like the family likes them. So
I've probably told you this before, but Snap-on, we worked with a guy, Tim. He, where he went to high school in the Northern Beaches as well, I think.
Yeah.
McConaughey did a year exchange student.
That's right.
in-
what was it? Gadnock?
in Australia, and Tim's brother remembers seeing him regularly hanging out in this car park smoking weed with some friends.
Fuck yeah,
McConaughey just hanging out.
Which is what you would do then, for sure.
Oh, word
Absolutely.
up, word. It was like early 80s and shit. All right, so I gotta finish this story though. It's because I can't get it out of my head. At 11 o'clock, I finished filming for Aussie. I'm in bed, showered, teeth brushed, got headphones on, comfortable, warm because it was like fucking 8 degrees. My agent goes, I messaged him, go, hey mate, sent off, complete. He goes, I'm not seeing it here. 2 minutes later, did you just complete the Aussie audition? Yeah. Mate, that was due on the 24th of June. You weren't
Next week.
You were supposed to do the Macquarie ad instead.
Oh,
I was like, oh man, fuck. All
up and
right.
at 'em.
Up and at him, got up, got dressed again, dragged the mic out, extension cord, boom, set up, lighting, filmed this fucking lame ass scene, and then sent it to him. Lighting was really bad at that point. I don't have like super sick lighting like this. I've just got a couple like LEDs. So that was that. And then the next day, my agent was like, I'll send you something for the new NCIS, you know.
Oh, yeah, Sydney. Yeah.
I auditioned. Well, I didn't audition. It was like a self-tape, but it was like it was like, we need a 6'4" basketball player, ex-military.
They don't know what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
want, man.
That's the thing. I looked at that and I said, hey, bro, this isn't me. He's like, I sent him pictures again. They're like you. So my whole audition, I just had to talk, introduce myself, talk about if I have an interest in NBA. And obviously I'm a Knicks fan. So I was wearing a Knicks jersey. I was like, ugh. And then I had to take my shirt off and do a 360.
Oh,
And
shit.
then like a turn 360. And then, because I'm going to be dead on an autopsy table.
Yeah, right. They want to
Spoilers.
see. Right. Okay.
And then among other things, so like it's weird. It's the thing about acting. It's like it's kind of similar to like when you were younger and you were hoping to get a job interview. You wouldn't get anything for a month and then you get 5 interviews in one day.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, dude. I haven't had anything for a while and then three
come through the pipe. Yeah.
NCIS, so that's lit.
Yeah.
That would be sick, dude.
And Chris Stenders is directing that. Good director.
Have you seen Danger Close?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have.
I'm
yeah.
on Danger Close. You can actually see me on there.
Oh, I'll have to.
On the part where the band's playing.
I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah,
Keep an eye out for
I
you.
can pause it and show it for you. But I've
Yeah.
met Kriv a couple of times.
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
did a workshop with him. He's a fucking chill dude, bro.
Yeah.
I
no,
don't know
he's
if
good.
you saw on one of our episodes with a friend, Andrew, up in Queensland.
He did Aquaman.
Yeah, and he was just dead. But he's
Yeah.
front and center. Like the camera pans right past him, but he's just a dead guy.
Oh, nice.
There he is.
Oh, it doesn't. You look so different, man. Like
It's
I can
got
tell it's
hair,
you,
dude.
but like
Yeah, there I am there. And that's Kriv right here.
I think you look better now, man. To be honest.
You reckon?
Yeah. Fuck
Everyone,
yeah, man.
everyone says
What's
like, I accept it. Like I'm not like hung up about not having hair anymore, but like I've accepted it. Like
What's the rum and coke scene that we rehearsed? What was that?
rum and coke?
That you were just talking about before, the scene.
Oh, Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, that scene. We were rehearsing that for ages because it was part of a workshop that he did. And then he comes back with the tapes from the workshop, and no joke, it was like at least 10 times better than what we were rehearsing here. And I was like, fuck, dude, like you are in. Because
Yeah.
he'd like freshly shaved his head. It was a you were meant to be a tough guy in the scene.
Yeah.
Freshly shaved head. He had the beard, and he was wearing this fucking like shacket, you know, the shirt jackets with the collar and all the way done up. And it was just like, I was like, fuck, bro, I believe it. I'm buying it.
I believe it.
There's so many variables, man.
Yeah.
It's just who knows
Yeah,
what they don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
They don't. They've got no
until
fucking
they
idea,
see it.
right?
And then they go, holy
and
shit.
it's so hard. Like I empathize with actors coming up now because you're doing it in your kitchen and you're sending it off tape. You don't have that direct feedback.
Word.
It's so much harder to create a relationship.
You got to get used to rejection.
Fucking
or-
casting agents are so fucking lazy.
Dude, they're
like,
so douchey.
yeah.
Like
and
they choose to like put themselves on a pedestal. Like I would be like if I had 120 people auditioning, I'd leave it. But if I got 5 people down, or at least the last 5, I'd message them and be like, "Hi, you haven't been put through, but that was very excellent work.
Yeah.
Maybe get better lighting next time, or this and that.
Yeah.
Improve.
Give some feedback.
Why not offer improvement for your local Aussie talent?
You
right?
would think that would be beneficial for their job.
Word.
But at the same time, too, like one of the cringiest things I think a casting agent can do is give acting advice to an actor,
Yeah.
because it's a completely different thing. And
That's different from
They
feedback,
always
though, right?
they always say, "Oh, I was an ex-actor." It's like, no, you
And
weren't.
that's what I was going to say. Like, frankly, a lot of them are ex-failed actors. Not that failing is indicative of lack of ability or skill or talent,
But they, yeah,
but it's like just going back to what I was saying before. If I'm going to lose this, I want to lose it my way, not your way.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing I loved about acting when I was actually doing it is figuring it out. You know, and going through that process of self-evaluation and learning and introspection, and what does it feel like to wear Joel's shoes, and can I actually make a go of that when it comes time to do it, when that camera, or they say action, can I do that?
It sounds like you got the juice, man. Why'd you stop?
A lot of reasons. One, my kid. I was unhealthy, so I had a medical issue. 53 kilos, not really indicative of getting out there and doing your best work. But I always struggled with acting from the perspective of I really always liked learning and studying and experimenting and actually doing it. Hated everything else to do with it. I hated having to deal with fake people. You know all about it, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Dealing with
I
casting
can't
agents.
do that. I'm not a brown nose, man. Like, I'll go to events. I went to an event recently, like a table read. The guy who played Chopper Reed in the Nines Underbelly was there.
Oh, yeah.
Big Aussie actors were
Yeah.
there. And like afterwards, she was like, the lady who invited me, it's like a fucking audience watching a table read. It was crazy. She's like, go talk to the director. And I was like, all right. And I was like, hey, how are you going? Didn't even say my name. I was like, nice to meet you. He was talking to another actor I've seen before. I was like, I've watched you all my life. It's nice to meet you. All the best with everything. And he was like, he was looking at me like, are you going to keep talking? And I was just like, see you later. And
Yeah.
I'm not a brown nose. I can't do it. I cannot network,
And
dude.
you see their workshops, right? Like everyone, invariably, the workshop starts off, oh, we'll go around in a circle and why are we here? Or tell me a little bit about yourself. And everyone's like, oh, my mum said I'd be a great actor. And then I'm working on a feature film, actually 2 feature films. And then I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I studied here and I studied that. And it'd get to me and I'll just be like, I'm just here to learn. You
Good
know,
man.
and like just for me personally, because I just found it like everyone's trying to figure out what they can get from everyone else in the room to get ahead.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not here for that. I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
I don't want to, pay a casting agent to do a workshop in the hope that I can develop a relationship and they'll
Bullshit.
see me. It's
Did
like,
you
do
do-
your fucking job,
Yeah.
man.
Did you do Tony Higginbotham?
So Tony's a friend of mine.
Dude, I thought Tony was a soulless.
Tony, she
Like,
means
like she was
man.
nice, but like everything, bro. We had one workshop where we went there to do a scene, but also she was casting for a film. She talked about herself for like an hour and a half, and then she said, "Oh, I won't get you guys to do the audition for the film. Just send it to me later on."
Yeah.
And like we all paid like $300 or $400. She just wasted our time, and I did that 2 or 3 times with her. Like I'm done with that woman. Like I don't dislike her or anything. I know she's a busy woman, but it was a lot of people are angry with her, dude.
And they've got a right to be. Like, I like Tony. I've spent time with Tony outside. Like,
You do that, like the morning runs with her and shit?
No, I'm not doing that shit. But my friend Richie was this second lead teacher in the acting school that I went to. And he went to work with Tony for a while. And obviously I knew Tony from my first experience with Tony was I got a time to go on audition for her. I think it was like 9 o'clock. Rang the bell, 9 o'clock on the dot. She's like, I'm not fucking ready for you yet. Fuck off. Come back at 10 o'clock. You fucking stupid agents and actors. And then fucking hung up. And I had to come back at 10 o'clock and deliver a performance for her. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not acceptable, right? You can't talk to people like that. So I'd be the first to say, hey, Tony, you can't do that.
How long ago did you stop?
I stopped when I was in mid 30s, so 33, 34.
So about 8 years ago or something?
I continued studying. So if there was an interesting workshop, like the last workshop I did was with Kevin Jackson last year before he died. So fucking glad I did that too.
Kevin Jackson.
Kevin Jackson. So Kevin Jackson was at one time the lead at NIDA. Older guy, very sort of quite a character in the theatre space. He ran a blog where he was extremely critical of, he'd go and see a show and just rip it to shreds if you felt that was necessary. But the time that I spent with him was incredible though, because he just took me to another level, because I've still got that interest. I still love doing the stuff. I'm still doing monologues in the shower. I'm still doing the whole thing. But it's not my priority. And my priority is my son. And for me, I think maybe in 5, 6, 7 years, I'll come back to it.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I'm not in it. Like the kind of work I want to do is older anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
right, you're not getting any younger. You're not getting any older. I'll say that.
That. But
you're
also,
going to be 70
You're
years
not
old.
getting old roles, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but that was always my issue. So when I was really getting a lot of opportunities, I was 29, 30, I looked 22, and I'd get opportunities, good opportunities, but it was always like a boring sort of character, hero character, or the pretty boy of the, whatever, something like that. I didn't like it. There was nothing, it wasn't the kind of work that I wanted to do.
I prefer being a villain.
I'd prefer being a villain or something that typically the roles that I wanted to do were, 40, 45, so I'd read the scripts and I'm like, I want to play that character. And I'd talk to the agent would be like, no, they're looking for Ben Mendelsohn or someone like that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to fucking...
You gotta wait till you're a bit grey.
I'm going to wait and, developing myself. I wasn't ready. I wasn't doing the work. I was self-sabotaging. I wanted to be there, but, I'd walk into an audition and with a commercial casting agent, and they'd be like, all right, do it. And I would have come up with a way to make sure that I didn't get that job. I'd literally come out with something stupid or say something stupid or put on a weird accent or something just to fucking get myself
self-sabotage,
because I didn't want to do it.
Mm.
I did not want to do it. I already had a job in sales. I had no interest in selling fucking Subway.
That's like hardcore integrity. Hey?
Yeah, but that was just where I was at. I just didn't give a fuck, and I wanted to get out of there. You know what I mean? But my agent would be like, "No, you got to play the game." And I was like, "She was right. You have to play the game. You've got to develop those relationships. You've got to get on set to develop your craft.
You got to play someone like, for me, at how I look now, I'd only play like a cop or like a tough guy, like a criminal. You got to do that for a while until you have the freedom to play other characters.
Yeah, once you have an established name, then you can say, I don't want to do this, I want to do this. Well, and then people will make it work because they want you on there.
Stereotypes exist for a reason, right? So it's like that whole Bill Burr thing of like, I've got no issues with people with facial tattoos, but I'm not going to let one babysit my kid, right? That's just an obvious thing, right? So if you look a certain way, just lean into that. Get the opportunities, learn to be on set, learn to work with different directors, learn how the crew works, actually do the work. It's kind of like learning to swim. And then, the best way to learn to swim is jump in the ocean, be on set, have that experience. And then once you've earned credibility or the right, then expand out, do some different work, get that opportunity. And it's a game of chance. Acting is a game of chance, man. It is. Yeah. It's really so many variables and being in the same place. And that's something that I found frustrated is waiting for the fucking phone to ring.
Like the most, you could get down to a bottom audition where it's like us two, and it'll be the most minute thing that I do that's just a bit better than you. Like, I'll finish the sentence, it'll be like, 4x beer. It's great. And you'll be like, 4x beer. It's great. And just that one little stupid extra thing, or I might be a bit taller, a bit shorter.
And it's all subjective. Like, it's whoever's watching it going, oh, I liked him better.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And there was a guy, I forget his name, but he was in Twilight, Australian actor. And he was
I remember him, the blonde dude.
The blonde dude, right?
Short, nugget dude, yeah.
We were always going for the same shit, and he'd get it every time.
Oh, you met him before?
I'd see him in rooms and stuff, but it was like...
Was he solid back then, or not like crazy good?
I don't know. I never saw him work. I'd only see the end result when, I'd audition for a role, he'd get it, and then I'd have to sit there and watch the fucking film that he got. It didn't go anywhere, but it was still like that missed opportunity of like, I wanted to try that. And then you sit there and like, fuck, I came at it in a different way. You know what I mean? They obviously just went that way, but also he had a much better agent, better looking guy, you know, had some history in terms of, you know, his resume. It was just like one of those things.
It's probably a NIDA kid or a WAPA kid, you
I
know?
don't know. No hate to them, man. If you
Did you
can
go to NIDA or WAPA?
No, I auditioned for NIDA and got through to the second thing, but I shouldn't have. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing when I auditioned.
What failed, like Shakespeare or contemporary?
No, it was a contemporary, I think, that undid me. I was quite comfortable with the Shakespeare. I don't know. Who knows?
You got a gut instinct.
Very,
so-
very naive of me, but I had no idea that Mel Gibson came from NIDA
Yeah.
and he actually spoke in a Australian accent
Yeah,
until he
yeah,
was
yeah.
full Hollywood.
Yeah.
I watched some interviews. I was like, holy fuck, he's full Aussie.
Bro,
And that makes so much sense the way he looks. His skin is just sun damaged.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett, Jeffrey Rush,
As Lerman.
Baz Luhrmann. We've also got Jai Courtney went to WAPA with
Heath
Hugh
Ledger.
and Hugh Jackman. Yep.
Yep.
But what's his name? Sam Worthington from
Yes.
the Avatar.
Yep.
Sam Worthington was just a fucking kind of like Darrow-y country bumpkin dude, and I think he went with a mate to a NIDA audition and did it, and he fucking got it.
Nailed it.
And he was just like, he rock up to NIDA with like kind of like the R.M. William boots and like jeans and like a dirty fucking singlet. He was just like, "G'day boys, what's going on?" Like, you know.
But good call, because they all look the same.
Yeah.
All those actors that go through that process.
Yeah.
This is one thing I really like about Green Lights, the McConaughey book, because he was like, hey, I think I like acting. And he went and studied it. And he was like, everyone that I studied with, he couldn't relate to because they were all like, mainstream Hollywood, yuck. And he would go to the cinema to see the latest thing that came out and was like, I fucking loved it. They were all like, oh my God, you're so mainstream. And he's like,
You gotta watch more
Are you guys
Brando.
fucking stupid? He was like, are you kidding? This is why we're in this. Like, we enjoy acting, so watch the big fucking blockbusters. That's where where the action is.
I think, it can go both ways, right? Like, I only watch Marvel films. It's like, I want to be on a Marvel films. Like,
Who's your favorite comic book hero? It's called Wolverine, right?
ooh, I honestly, I reckon 10 years ago, I would have made a fucking sick Wolverine. Juice me up.
Really?
Juice me up. I'm the right height. I'm
Yeah.
probably too tall, if anything. Hugh Jackman, what the fuck? That's
Too tall.
he sold it, but
You're not
that's
very
not
tall,
Wolverine.
right?
I'm not tall. I'm 5'8". Used to be 5'9". But
I'd
I'm
say
5'8"
we're probably
now.
about the same height, but Wolverine was like, do you remember the diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle?
Yeah.
Wolverine was like, all right, bub, either you come with me or I'm going to fucking rip your ass
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
That's how I'd audition for him.
Fucking animal.
Yeah.
You play an animal, right? That's how I would approach that.
Yeah.
Favorite Superman? No, it's probably cliche of Batman and Spider-Man. I always liked,
Spider-Man goes hard. So does Batman, bro.
The thing I always liked
check
about
it.
Spider-Man is he would be in the face of danger and still be a smartass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I
Two-Face
appreciate
from
Two-Face.
Batman Animated.
Yeah.
Here's the only law.
Yeah.
I'd say I always liked the superheroes that didn't necessarily have powers. Like Batman was sick, the Punisher was sick.
Punisher. Yep.
I fuck
Huge
with
Punisher fan.
I fuck with Spawn.
Yeah.
I love Spawn. You remember non-Marvel?
Yep.
But like, I think my favorite comic book hero at all time, because I never read comic books, but I did read some PDFs I had of Judge Dredd.
Oh, Dredd.
2000
Yeah,
AD.
yeah.
Dude, Judge Dredd was. The British are so dark and grimy.
Yeah.
Like Marvel's like zip pow. Judge Dredd would like kick open a meth lab, shoot a hole in someone's head, and go, "Don't lose your head over it." You know, like, it's just like real fucking witty, dark, grimy shit,
That's
like
sick.
dystopian.
Did you like the Carl Urban Dredd?
I preferred Stallone
Did you?
way more.
Wow.
Like
okay.
Carl Urban,
take.
like Mama's not the law, I'm the
Yeah,
law.
yeah.
That was lit, but like, dude, you betrayed the law.
You got a take on this,
Law.
Phil? Have you
Judge-
seen both?
Judge Dredd. Wait, Stallone was a lot closer to the comics for me. Like fucking Rob Schneider and shit, bro. Come on.
Yeah, no,
So lit.
we're gonna
Okay.
go Carl Urban for that.
See,
yeah.
it was too like. It was super like Stallone's was like super mega city on top of each other, and I found that Carl Urban's was just like they did a couple of shots in downtown LA, and the whole thing just felt like a fucking Chinatown LA. Like it didn't like Stallone's was like fucking. I'm suffocating in how many buildings are on top of buildings, you know, like block wars and shit. That's how I felt, but like. The chick who played the psychic in that, she was hot. That's all I got to say.
What was the I think it was DiCaprio or someone. Someone said that another actor told them it was like never, do not accept any superhero
Yeah, I've
roles.
heard that. DiCaprio has played it perfect, man. That's how you do it. You don't do press. You don't do interviews. You keep who you are private so that whenever anyone watches your work, they're not taking, the McConaughey from the Woman's Day spread and applying that to the character, because then you've got that to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's not even being a controversial character, like Shia. That's been the issue with Shia, is like he's got this whole controversy around him. How does he overcome that?
Another great change of genre is Bruce Willis going from that show that he was in to Die Hard. Yeah. Everyone was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, he was like a
comedy guy.
He was like a plucky comic relief.
Yeah, and then he did Die Hard, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, okay."
Those are.
Which one do you think looks cooler, left or right?
It depends what vibe I'm going for. The right one looks more
realistic, right?
Yeah,
but like
dark
if you were high, you'd be all about Stallone, right?
If you were high and overanalyzing,
I could see how if you were high off your head, the Stallone one would be.
Which one's the Stallone one?
That one.
I am. But the sick thing, here was the sick thing, right? Like Stallone,
and who's the other one?
Stallone, Carl Urban. It's the same character. Stallone had the jaw for Dredd. He had the kind of but at the same time, like, because Judge Dredd in reality wears fucking tights, right? He wears tights over his uniform. This is what Dredd wears, just tights and then a bit of armor. Stallone was fucking ripped, dude. So Stallone fit it. Carl was just wearing fucking leathers,
Yeah.
which is more practical. True. Let's be real. Like, I'm not shitting on Carl Urban. I love Dredd. Like,
a lot more tactical.
You guys watch The Boys? I know Joel a little bit.
I wait until series are finished and then I watch.
Really?
Yeah.
Big fan, dude.
Yeah. No, I'm actually really looking forward to it. I'm excited that they're now, like, next will be season 5 and then I can watch it.
Yeah. Which I think will be the last one, I think.
Last one. Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. No, I'm
it's
looking
very
forward to
dark.
Very good.
Yeah. I made him watch the first episode of the recent one that came out because he only watched. You watched a fair bit. But you didn't fully get into it.
I watched, yeah, dude, look.
And while we were watching it, Joel was like, I got to get into this. I'm like, you do, man. It's fucking sick.
You'll never see that in Marvel, bro. Check that out. He just fucking shot a dude's head off. Like,
shot a fucking tunnel in someone's brain.
I watched the first season of The Boys and maybe 2 episodes into the second, and then I didn't watch anything else since. But
it's good shit.
See, I was a big comic book kid. I'd read all the comic books, but for me, it was cinema. And specifically, like, back then when I was a kid and everyone else was reading, like, comic books, I'd be watching, like, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan.
Be like water.
And Van Damme films. Like, to me, they were my superheroes. And Schwarzenegger,
That's why, like, I remember seeing
fucking love me some old school Schwarzenegger shit.
Yeah. I remember it was just like, oh, women have to go through so much. Like, men expect them to have it, like, since they were kids. They've had body dysmorphia because, like, magazines have told them to be a certain way. And then it showed a picture of, like, fucking He-Man, Van Damme. Every single person we grew up in the 90s and 80s loving are all fucking roided as fuck. And it's like, how is that not different? Like,
contrast that with the fact that most of us were raised by women. Right? We were all raised by our mums, that feminine energy. Our dads were working or off or non-existent or whatever, or didn't know how to parent.
100.
So then we were watching these films with Schwarzenegger and Van Damme and that sort of that alpha, muscular, aggressive, I can fight anyone, bring it all on sort of approach. Schwarzenegger in Commando walking out with the huge rifle.
Stick around.
And just like shooting 50 million people like that. So no wonder, that our generation was.
Oh, our generation, the lads have body dysmorphia for sure.
Yeah. And now we've come back around. Like, you look at the superheroes now and they're skinny little.
Pussy little bitches, yeah.
They've never been in a gym in their life.
Like, I'm not sure if you're the same, but like, would you, because like whenever I was around a mate's place growing up, because again, it ties back into like seeing these superheroes protect women, right? And like our dads were always working, so our mum would always be around cooking us breakfast and lunch and dinner, whatever. But like, I never spoke back to my mother. Like, mother is. There's a saying. It's like, mother is God in the eyes of all children. It's true.
The Crow quote. Yeah,
exactly.
My favorite film.
Brandon Lee, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking, and I say I'm dead and I move.
Yeah.
Fucking love The Crow, dude. bash the devil stood and felt how awful goodness is. I was going to get that tattooed to me, bro, like T-Bird. But anyways, like when I'd go around to a mate's place and like they were like, "Fuck, shut up, mom, leave me alone," I'd be like, "Bro,
Yeah, that's
I think
not on.
that's
No
partly
way.
partly the European thing. Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Australian kids versus European kids,
yeah."
different dynamic there. Mostly because our parents would have beaten the shit out of us. I don't know about your
Fuck.
mum.
Oh
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
dude. I would have got a belt
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, it's funny. I'm the same. Like, even to this day, my wife always says it. She goes, "You treat women one way and men the other." It's like, yeah, I fucking hate men. Like, Philly's one of the rare male friends that I've got because I just don't get along with dudes. I
Yeah.
think we're fucking animals.
You know, I think I'm falling under that. Like when I was younger in high school, I would banter all the time. I would be like, "No, you're fuck you cunt," and like you know. But I think I just reached a point where it just became kind of like immature and lame. Like now, I work with a lot of Irish blokes, and like I'll just be doing my thing, and like they'll say something, and I'd be like, "Oh, I could say this," but it's just like I just don't have the energy for it. Like I lost the interest in being like a fucking a child. You know?
I've been there for a minute. And like, your dick's bigger, it's fine.
Yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
whatever you're
Exactly.
like that Keanu Reeves quote that's going around at the moment. It's like, I'm at a point now in my life where I don't care if you come at me and say 2 + 2 = 5. I'll say great. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
And move on, you know what I mean? Whereas the older me would have been like, no, you're a fucking idiot. 2 + 2 = 4. Here's why.
Yeah.
I need you to understand.
I think about this though. Is it bad that we've kind of lost that fightness?
It's a good question.
Is it a
is a
lack?
good
Is
question.
it a lack of testosterone or is it a lack of caring? Because what's that other famous quote? It's the real weak man is the one who sees something bad happening and doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Like because I'm losing the desire to fight. Like if I'm on a bus and an old woman comes on, I'll stand up and give up my seat.
100%.
If someone was abusing or attacking someone, I would stand in and defend those person with my life. That's fine.
Yep.
But in this, it's the smaller things that add up. You know, like how often do I keep my mouth shut?
I'm with you, man. For me, I think I've just gotten to a point in my life where it's like, I've got my kid, I've got my wife, and I've got the people I love and care about. Outside of that, I don't care. I do care, but my interest is on protecting my family and my friends and my loved ones. And
Which is every man's lot in life.
And
as far as I'm concerned, you're doing what you need to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the people that I'm coming up with, like Phil and like yourself now, it's like, let's come up together. Let's improve ourselves. Let's be beneficial. And if you're not interested in that, if you just want to turn this into a my dick's bigger competition or my house is bigger or whatever it is, do it over there. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in you. I'm bringing you back from the dark side. That's your journey.
This seems to be a thing that people who grew up in Sydney have to face because, like, I'm not sure if it's the kind of circles I hang around with, but since I've been in Sydney for nearly 3 years now, I've never had to sit there and go, well, I do this and I make this much money. But like in Brisbane, you never get that. Like you could be a doctor and you'd catch up with your mate who works at an IGA and it'd be like, we went to high school together. He's my best
Doesn't
mate.
matter.
Yeah.
But over here in Sydney, it's like, where's my latte?
Yeah.
You know?
Sydney is, I forget how this breaks down, but Sydney is, what do you do and where do you live? Right? Melbourne is, what team do you go for? And I forget the other one. And then Brisbane, you guys probably know better than me, but it's not that. It's not that Sydney thing of what do you do for a living and where do you live? And I'm just going to judge everything based on that answer.
Whereas Brisbane's probably what do you drink and what's your favourite
Yeah,
footy team,
whatever
you know?
it is, like that more social thing. And it's weird for me because Sydney is so cliquey, right? Like it's hard to sort of get in and sort of meet new people because everyone's so, particularly in Bondi, like the English people come over, they just hang out with other English people. The
Irish
Brazilians,
as well, yeah.
Irish, they just hang out
The
in their
Irish
own little
is
cliques.
so bad for
To
it,
me, I don't understand why you would come to another country and just hang out with people from
With
home.
your own.
Yeah.
I do get it in a way, like you're
There's
comfortable.
comforting aspects of it, but
Yeah.
you got to move out.
Yeah,
So, because a lot of the people, I work with a lot of Irish, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've only been here for about a year and 6 months, and then I'm going to go home." Like, yeah, sure, you went up to Cairns, you did the Great Barrier Reef, you might have did skydiving and Byron and whatever and shit like that, but you know, what else have you done? What have you
social aspect.
what have you really done? Like, if let's say I went to live in fucking Munich or Berlin, I would really, really get into it. Like, I would really just jump into that. Like, I'd probably get a mundane job. I'd try to people, all shops are closed on a Sunday, but people all go out in the park and sit in the sun, apparently. Like, I'd be like, well, what is it they're reading? What kind of drinks are they having? Because I'll like a dirty chai or something like, oh, they're drinking like a long black.
Yeah.
The last 6 people I spoke to only drink a long black. Or maybe I'll drink a long black for 4 months and see how it changes my perspective,
Like you guys were talking about recently, what would you do with $7 billion or 10 if you got that win, right?
We were getting to that.
Right. So, what I would do is go.
There we go. You don't even have to
I would
ask
go and
it.
become
Beautiful.
a local. I would go and be, what's it like to be a local in Como? And then
Where's Como?
like
Mexico?
Italy, for
Oh,
example,
right.
And then how long does it take me to become a local? Maybe 6 months? Soon as I'm a local, I'm moving on.
Bro, you look like you could fit like a chart, right? But if I went to Italy and I saw you, it'd be like, oh yeah, this dude's Italian. I can't ask him for directions.
Yeah.
If I saw you in Switzerland, I'd go, oh, this dude's probably a Spanish fucking.
He's fucking
He's
lost.
probably on a holiday. Yeah. So
Yeah. Like,
for acting wise, for you, bro, I think you should get back into it because I think you could fucking really juice in.
man, it's funny. Like you're always jealous of what the opposite is. Right. So for me, I was always, because I always had that, like people would say, you look like this guy, you look like that guy, or my agent would do it to me. She'd send off a brief and go, oh, Anthony is a combination of these 2 actors. And I always hated it because I was always jealous of the one that just looked unique and just had his own. Like there's a local guy, Goran, I forget his last name, but he's an actor and he's got a really unusual look and he books everything and he always books like interesting characters. He's the one that gets to pretend he's a vampire or pretend he's, some kind of creature or something. And I was always jealous of that, that he could just stand on his own thing, whereas I'd have to compete with that generic fucking look of like, oh, the guy that could be from there or looks a bit like this or looks a bit like that.
What kind of roles were you getting? Did you ever get commercials or anything?
Yeah, they try and send me for commercials. I was lucky in that I would get auditions for like films and television and stuff, like US productions. I felt like that's where I was going to be, probably because everyone that was booking work here looked like a version of Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
That's
what worked, right?
That tall Australian, over 6 foot. It was like I felt like I was on Tinder or something when I was auditioning. It was that same kind of just elimination process, and I didn't fit that bill. Whereas the States, I'd get auditions there, but obviously the challenge with that was I wasn't there. I didn't have the green card.
Did you live in the States for a bit?
No, but if I had the opportunity,
huge.
Green card's huge, right? So
because you can't get a working visa over there and do acting as well.
My biggest regret is I just didn't go to the States. The problem with that is I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my kid.
Don't even dwell on that, bro.
No, I don't. I never do.
Because you probably
right?
would have wasted 3 years there.
But my advice would be if anyone's an actor and they're interested in chasing it, get to Vancouver or get to the States. Just go to where the work is.
Vancouver's LA 2.0, yeah.
Go to one of those and just give it everything for as long as you can and then come back and...
As long as you can enjoy, yeah.
Just play that game and then collaborate with people on either getting your own scripts or getting the rights to a book and adapting it that way so that you can actually be proactive with your work. If I was going to get back into it, that's what I would do. I'm not even sure I'd get another agent. There's books that I've read that I'm like, I'd love to play that. There's an Austrian film that I've seen. I'd love to bring that to Australia and adapt that to Australian. The Robber. It's about a bank robber who used to rob banks on foot. It's based on a true story. Yeah, so he was a marathon runner and he'd rob banks.
Remind me later. I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Can you play a random sound real quick? All right, so just I'm gonna get stupid and dumb with you for a second, all right? Do you have anything to say before I ask him a stupid question?
Is this the question?
Yeah.
That he's already basically
No,
answered?
it's a different one.
Okay, yeah, go.
All right, we got to get dumb. There's probably 2 or 3 listeners who are like, "When'd you go and say something stupid?" So like, we're gonna get stupid. Real quick, all right. I just want you to clear your mind, and I don't want you to put too much into it. I want you to imagine that you are single and you don't have children. All right. Let's just get that out of the way.
Okay.
And Joanna, is it?
Joanna,
don't worry about this. All right. I want you to imagine that you're walking down the street. Let's say you're in King's Cross, and then you see about 6 or 7 bodyguards chilling out the front of this really nice apartment, like hotel building. And then like There's a what was that one? I said, "You give me the mushi." Do you remember that?
Are you trying to bring that back?
Yeah. Is that that's not a good one, is it?
I have no idea.
No, you ask one because I got nothing in me.
No.
Ask him a random
I will-
hypothetical.
I will ask you. I will ask him the $6 billion question because I know what you're going to do. You're going to try and become a local. But what would you do immediately if you only found out right now?
I'd get so practical, man. I'm lawyering up. I'm getting a fucking security guard. I'm fucking.
But like as we're sitting in this room,
Yeah, no, that
like
seems
if we were like, okay, you've just got $6 billion. We're going to switch off the recording for the podcast. Come on, man. We got to do something.
All right.
What are you doing? Like, that's why I made it really annoying with Rohan, his last guest, because I kept repeating myself because I had to nail the coffin in. I was like, not 3 days from now, not 4 days.
But
not,
I think that's
not after you've had a
Alright.
couple. Like, I'm talking.
I know exactly
Right
what
now.
I would do.
All right,
Right.
right.
I don't know if you've got an atlas or some kind of globe, or we can
yes.
find a random sort of generator on
Right behind
Google.
you. Throw a dart at that.
Yeah. I would say, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to throw a dart at that, or one of us can throw a dart. Wherever it lands, I don't give a fuck if it's North Korea.
Or Ukraine.
I
gotta
don't
go.
give a fuck if it's Ukraine. We're going. We're
Well,
going.
what about
we're
your
not, We're
kids?
not going. We're not going.
What about
later.
your child and your wife?
No, we're going. Your hypothetical, I'm sort of conflating with the previous one, which is no Joanna, no Roman, no nothing.
No responsibilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's
having said that, I know my wife. She'd say, "Put $1 billion in my bank account right now. You can do whatever the fuck you want."
so you got $7 billion. You'd put that there and
Transfer
go.
$1 bill over.
I'm going to be gone for about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
you.
Here's the situation. Here's what I'm doing. There's money in your bank account. Are you good? Yes.
Let me ask you something. This is fucked up, and like this doesn't necessarily have to pertain to you and Joanna, but like, do you think if you had $7 billion and you after hyperventilating on the phone with Joanna said, check your account, check your account right now. She's like, holy fuck, this is 1.3 billion, and you're like, listen. I'm doing. I can't explain right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a long text in about an hour's time, but
Yep.
I'm gonna go to fucking Morocco.
Yeah.
I'll be back in. I'll
Yeah.
be back in. Yeah. Like, do you think? And let's be real.
Yeah.
Do you think she wouldn't even care if you went over there and slept with a woman because she's got 1.5 in the bank and her baby's going to be taken care of?
Fuck, man.
That's all right, bro. This
this-
is the 1 liter. This is Joel. This is the questions I will ask
man.
you.
I reckon I could get away with it now. That's for real. I don't know, man.
Because these are the questions I like to pose. This is why I like.
This is what a single man asks.
No,
Yeah,
well, this
not
is-
just that, but it's like I really like to see just what's gonna happen. Like it's kind of sounds fucked up. Like I'm not the kind of person. Well, I kind of am. I'm the kind of person who I'll have workmates, right? And there'll be that one workmate who doesn't want to go out drinking ever, and I'm like, come out. And we finally get him to come out. I don't want to get him to come out because I want to have a drink with him. I want to bring that piece of shit down to my level.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
see
yeah.
him. I want to see him fucking
Yeah,
cooked.
this is the actor thing, Phil. So
Yeah.
it's one of the best things about acting is that typically you'll hear people say, "What would you do if this happened?" They say, "Oh, I'd never do that." So I would never kill someone. Bullshit.
That's
Bullshit.
bullshit.
What needs to happen for you
That's
to kill
bullshit.
someone? Let's go
Exactly.
down the rabbit hole.
I think it's like maybe like a sociopathic serial killer part of me, like a tiny fraction of my brain that's like, I want to see this perfectly happy, loving couple. See what happens if once money's involved, will they stay together?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not saying that for you guys, but it's just like I wonder. I ask you because we haven't had a lot of married men
Yeah.
on here. Like, at what point does it become a state of just freedom?
I honestly think, for me personally, I love my life, man. I don't think $7 billion would change it
Of course,
in
Oh,
a
it's
way. I'd be a lot more comfortable.
it would make your life better. It'd probably make your
It
relationship
would give
better.
me a significant amount more freedom.
Where
Um,
like 2 more kids, maybe.
but it's just, well, yeah, it's just stuff. I
Yeah.
would just have a better
just
house, a bigger
things.
car, a plane.
Would you
whatever
stay
it
in
is.
Sydney?
Nah,
I-
neither.
I would
Where you
not wanna
going?
be-
Greece?
Yeah, I think I could see myself having a pad in Vienna,
Word.
on my family island in Greece. And
What is that? Crete?
No, it's Kalymnos, which is off to the west,
Mm.
small island.
Nice.
And then I'd have a place in Florence.
Word. Bro,
I love that.
I gotta bring up the fucking names again because he's Greek. I gotta
Yeah,
do
do
it.
it.
How often do you listen to our podcast? Like
All
every
the time, yeah.
So you would have seen me talk about ancient Roman and Greek names.
Yes, yeah, I love it. I've got a comment on this too, though. Right.
Nice.
So now that I've listened to this, so my Joanna, she works in child protection, and there's a thing called child protection names.
What?
Right.
So she gets to choose a random name.
Well, no. So how this works is she runs a team of people that look after kids, reports coming through from principals or teachers about kids. Typically very dark situations, like darker than you would expect in a volume that you would be frightened by. But more often than not, the name of the kid correlates to the situation
Whoa.
that they're in, right? So typically, if you get a weird name, like
HIV needle. What are
I
you
know
doing?
someone recently that named their kid, what's the Atreyu from a
Never
never-ending
ending
story, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed that kid's going to come up in a report,
Really?
right? Because
So
the
this
type
is-
of people that are going, I think it's a good idea to name my kid after the character in the never-ending story. Do what you want with your kid. That's your right to name it whatever you want. But the type of people that are coming up with weird and wacky names, I'm not saying the Greek ones. The Greek ones are beautiful. Those old Latin names, I think there's a beauty that we need to come back to.
Titus.
Or my friend had an idea
Vespasian?
for Hannibal.
Whoa.
Imagine your kid is called Hannibal, right?
Hannibal's in my list.
Fuck yeah, man.
Hannibal's in my list, dude.
Yeah.
It's Lucius, Vespasian,
Yeah.
Hannibal, and fucking Vespatillo.
Oh, beautiful names.
You like those?
Yeah, I do.
He doesn't.
I like the name, if we had another son, Cassian.
Ooh.
I love Cassian.
Cassian, Cassius,
Cassius, any of those kind of
Marius.
those? Marius.
I like Marius
or
too.
Hemingway. Oh, fuck,
Ooh,
beautiful name.
That's tight.
you know,
That's tight.
they don't
yeah.
have those names anymore. Everyone's calling their kid Banjo.
So you're saying
I do Cassius.
you're saying yeah, fuck
Cassius.
yeah. The more
It's another character in Red Rising. I'm a big fan.
Gotcha.
the more unique the name is, the more likely they're going to end up being tough kids who are drug addicts and stuff because they were bullied in school.
Probably the type of parents that are coming up with those names have issues that will correlate to problems with the kids.
Mm.
It's just that unfortunate fact. So we call them child
just
protection names
statistics.
between my wife and I.
Yeah.
We call it child protection names. So whenever we hear like a new parent call their name something odd,
Mm.
not one of those classical names, but like I'm trying to think of an
Blade,
example.
Khaleesi.
Perfect examples, right? A popular one, if they run a sort of an analysis, would be Nevea.
Really?
So I'm giving you some inside
Interesting.
tea, as the kids say. there.
Roman's a unique name, but it can pass with people without raising an eye.
Yeah, we wanted something that we both agree on,
But it had power.
but B was its own individual thing. Like I wanted my son to be his own. That's a priority for me, is to be his own man, not to be a reflection of me or a copy of me or someone else. I want him to be his own dude.
Yeah, you don't want him to be Anthony Jr.
No, I don't want that,
No.
right? So for me, I wanted a name that was reflective of our culture. No, not so much for Joanna, but a little bit for me. Was powerful, was classical. I like those classical names, without getting too out there. And Roman for both of us was the perfect sort of thing. And now it amazes me
Does
how
he
many
have a
people.
middle name?
Alexander.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck, you gave him the double.
Yeah.
The fucking double. Wait, I think we were maybe about 5 minutes into the podcast earlier, and you were like, oh, like, I've reached this age, and it's like, fuck, I haven't done anything. And I was going to be like, yeah, bro, like, Alexander the Great, I think he was maybe fucking 20 years old when he conquered half of the world. So, like, it's difficult. No, that's right, because we were talking about your ex-boss and, like, the amount of stuff he's done, the legacy he's left. It's like, bro, I'm in my 30s now. I've done fuck all. And, like, Alexander, like, he was one of the most influential people at the time. He was the Michael Jackson of his time, so fascinating.
It's out there.
Great name.
It's out there for us to.
What's your last name?
Asante.
Asante.
Yeah, so the same as the bad guy in Judge Dredd. Your version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Armando
Rico.
Sante.
Oh yeah.
Armando Sante. So similar sort of name.
SANT.
ASSANT. So ass and then ante.
Bro, I got come and ass. I get it, don't I? Yeah. I've got. It's funny. No one ever took the piss out of my name. Sometimes the teacher would be like, Joel coming third or something like that. But like
I don't think it is
Irish
one that-
Irish dude six next.
But that's the other thing with names.
Yeah.
You got to be thinking what the kids are going to call that kid in
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's
so Titus, you're running the gambit there, man.
tit ass. Yeah. That's what Phil focuses on. Like Phil sees the long picture. It's like
yeah.
Lucius.
Phil was that kid. That's why.
Well, the reason I'm aware of this because my last name Geet in German.
Yeah.
When we came over, everyone said Gith, and my parents
I call
were
him
like,
Gith.
"Well, let's not correct them because if we say Geet, they're just going to call them Gits, and we're just going to get bullied. So we're just like Gith is fine, whatever.
Mm.
Don't
Yeah.
bother correcting people.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I tell my friends that it's pronounced Geet, and they love it. Like he just
Yeah,
always,
like,
he
I
always calls me.
I didn't know that.
Phil
I didn't
Geet.
know.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like I've known him since we were in. He was in year 3. I was in year 1, and I didn't know it was Geet until 2022 when I moved here.
Imagine knowing someone your whole life and you've gotten their name wrong for,
Yeah.
for most of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Philip
but
Gith,
it was like to me, it was my new name here. That was my English name. It's the same as if you came over with a weird European name. They're going to
Yeah.
pronounce it differently in the English language.
I got a Chinaman's bladder. I got to piss again.
I think we should call it
Finish
anyway. It's been over 2 hours.
Oh
so
shit!
Thank you,
Right,
sir.
Wait, this has been a good one, man. This has been a long
No,
one.
I've really enjoyed
Appreciate you. This is great.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
of course,
you.
of course.
Welcome anytime.